Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
9,000 volunteers mentor high school students in our city. But with 300,000 high schoolers, we need more mentors. Not two.
All right, let's hear it. I'd like to bring in your council member, Debbie Rose. And your mayor, Bill de Blasio. So before we begin tonight's town hall, I'd like to invite up Malcolm Macbeth to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well done. Good job.
Thank you, Malcolm. Let's hear it from Malcolm Macbeth. So before we hear from some of our special guests, I'd like to thank our co-sponsors for this evening, Mothers Against Senseless Killings. All right. El Centro, on the back over there. The Empowerment Zone. La Colmena. African Coalition of Staten Island. Community Board 1. The Forest Avenue Bid, West Brighton LDC. And of course, thank you to Principal Matthew Barone for allowing us to use this space this evening. So I'd like to invite up your borough president, James Otto, to give us some brief greetings.
So I was going to begin by saying how those of us on Staten Island know that we, as a borough, are a little different than the other four boroughs, how we transcend party label and party affiliation. I was going to go into this wonderful story about how the mayor and I work together so closely. And then I came to Senator Diane Savino, also known as my second wife, who calls me every morning, with whom I speak to more often than my wife. And I realized not only is she wearing blue, Democrat, she has blue hair now. But then, to save the day, I see my friend Debbie Rose wearing red. On message, Gifford Miller would be proud. I just want to thank you for this wonderful turnout. It's great to see all of you. I want to thank everybody in the administration for the week so far at Borough Hall. It's been a lot of excitement and energy in the building. Thank you for what you guys have done the last few days. Thank you for what you do every day with us. And I want to thank the mayor. This has been a heck of a ride personally between me and you since 2001. This last few days have been great. Listen, folks, we try to get things done on Staten Island. You know, there's politics involved in politics, but we try to put it aside as much as possible to do work on behalf of all of you. And I hope you've been paying attention to some of the stuff that's been happening this week. A lot of other good stuff happening. It happens by local elected officials like Debbie, Diane, myself, working with the mayor, working with his team for one mission, and that is to improve the lives of all of you in our home borough. And I think together we are doing that. So have a wonderful evening. Let's be respectful, and let's get some answers and have some fun. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Borough President Otto. Next up, I'd like to invite your state senator, Diane Savino.
Thank you, Marco. Now, you like the blue? Well, after about a month and a half in Albany working on the budget, it was a little gray, so I had to go get my hair done. Definitely an improvement. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming out and bringing your entire team to spend the week with us here in Staten Island. We had a great day yesterday at New Lane talking to seniors. You've been everywhere. And in fact, this afternoon, as I was driving to my office, I saw you walking the street. And I said, where is he going? So you must have been going to inspect the new Empire outlets. That's where it looked like you were going. But you were certainly a man of the people, getting to know Staten Island. You know, and Jimmy made a point. We're the smallest of the 5 boroughs, right? There's only less than 500,000 of us. And we're able to get things done effectively because we do work together so well. We're the smallest delegation of elected officials. And we work so well together because we put aside those partisan differences that kind of cripple other parts of the city. We don't care who you are. We care that you care about Staten Island because we want to get things done for the people of Staten Island. So I know we're going to hear tonight from people who care about education and transportation, and they're going to talk about housing, and they're going to talk about recreational facilities, and they're going to talk about all of the things that Staten Islanders need and Staten Islanders feel that they don't get enough of, and they're going to do it in a respectful manner, and they know that at the end, every one of us has been paying attention, and we're going to make sure that your team and your staff, and you most of all, get the message and that you're going to respond, because we know you're going to be able to do that. So thank you for coming. Thank you for spending the week and paying a little bit of attention to the smallest little borough in the biggest city in the world. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Senator Savino. And last but not least, your council member, Debbie Rose.
All right. All right. I like that. This is a great Shaolin welcome. Let's give the mayor a real Shaolin welcome. Come on, y'all. You know, I am really honored and privileged to be here tonight to not only host this, our first town hall meeting in the 49th district, but also to be able to introduce our mayor. You know, Staten Island can no longer use the moniker that we are the forgotten borough. In light of as much time, as much effort that has been put into Staten Island this week, we can no longer say that we are forgotten. Our voices have been heard, as you'll see, and although we've discussed much, there is much more to be discussed, and the mayor is more than welcome, more than anxious to hear from you. And I just want to talk about rules of engagement just for a minute so that we know that everyone will be able to ask a question. Well, not everyone maybe, but we'll be able to ask a question. As many as possible will be able to ask a question. And we're asking that you ask one question. I know we have many concerns. None of us are one-note Nellies, but I want you to restrict your question to one issue, and then we can get as many people done. And so I am really excited because Staten Island is not a standalone municipality. Staten Island would be the second largest city in New York State, larger than many cities in our nation. Staten Islanders are proud New Yorkers who are vital to the workforce of our city in both the private and public sectors in New York City's economy. As the representative of the North Shore, which I am very excited to represent, we have tremendous diversity and growth. And so the mayor was here this week, and he spent many hours listening to our issues and our concerns. And I was especially excited because when I met with the mayor in my office, I had a pretty long list. And those of you who remember the Empire Outlet deal, remember I had 25 secret things on a list? Well, this time I didn't have as many as 25, but I did ask the mayor for a lot. And I have to say, yes, that he was very receptive, and he also he actually has some surprises for us tonight, I hope. And so, Mr. Mayor, I did address, I want all of us to say thank you, because one of the issues that's very important to us is the ferry. And thanks to the mayor and the commissioners that are here, Commissioner Trottenberg, that we were able to get lower level boarding on the ferry boat. And the mayor made that possible. We have not had that since 9/11. And today I had the honor and privilege to be with Commissioner Silver at the groundbreaking of Grandview Park. $4.5 million is being spent to provide a park in Mariners Harbor. And those of you who know, there's very little in Mariners Harbor. And $4.5 million was. And so it is my hope tonight that the mayor will hear about the improvements. The mayor will tell us about the improvements to service delivery, street paving, and ferry service that has happened under his administration. And I want him to take credit where credit is due. Oftentimes we complain, but it's seldom that we give the accolades. And so, Mr. Mayor, tonight we will hear directly from my constituents about their concerns, and those concerns are serious and and quite many. Education, transportation, traffic, safety, enhanced recreational facilities, job creation, and protecting our environment, and so many more. And one of the issues that I wanted the mayor to address was that I had petitioned for the naming of a ferry boat after Sandy Ground and additional recreational facilities. We also would like to know how will we manage our growth and still retain our identity as Staten Islanders and New Yorkers, and how will we plan our future to protect and improve every neighborhood. And so I'm really excited to say to you tonight that the mayor has shared our concerns and interests. And now I'd like to introduce the mayor of this great city, the mayor who has been very responsive to the needs of Staten Island. I want to thank all of the commissioners that were here and their staffs who listened to our concerns and were able to maybe address and ease some of the trepidation that many of our residents had. And so, without further ado, our mayor, who loves Staten Island, and we're going to make him an honorary member of Shaolin, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
I have two very big Wu-Tang Clan fans at home.
All right.
So they're going to say, if I'm an honorary member, do I get a sword or something like that?
Right. And I have for you a Shaolin pin.
Okay, I get a pin.
Making it official.
I was hoping for a sword, but I'll take a pin. A nice little pin.
No sword.
Not a ninja sword, but that's good.
It's not
Thank
in the
you.
budget.
It's not in the budget. Oh, very good. Very good. So, it's on. The budget discussion has begun. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I want to say at the outset, I really appreciate when I have an opportunity to gather with people. I learn something every single time in every neighborhood I've been in. It helps us to focus, to hear from you and the entire team here. I'll talk about them in a moment. Everybody appreciates an opportunity to hear from you, what you care about, what you think we need to do. And in almost every one of these meetings, new ideas are presented that actually help us to do things better, including things, honestly, we didn't think of before, that the people tell us that we need to hear. And I just want to thank you also for being here because of the commitment you feel for your neighborhood, for your borough. It's a weekday night. It's a very special week. It's obviously a very holy week in so many faiths. And it's Holy Thursday this evening. This is a time of year where people have a lot of things on their mind, particularly family and faith. But you're here nonetheless on top of that because you care about your community. So it, to me, is an affirmation about how the democratic process is supposed to work, and your commitment to your community makes a huge difference. I want to thank everyone who's a part of this, all the sponsors. I want to thank this good young man, Malcolm, who did the pledge. Thank you again. If the borough president would stop texting for a moment, I'd like to... Security, take that, please. These millennials can never put down their devices. I feel like I'm at the dining room table at home. I'm going to look up, please. Look up, we're over here. I was going to say something nice. I will just say honestly, everyone knows, you know, for now, the last 15 plus years, I've had a real friendship with Jimmy Otto. And it is a reminder, everyone, you do not have to agree on everything in life to be friends with someone. You don't have to agree on everything in life to work with someone. I feel like maybe we should go to Washington, D.C. and explain this very carefully to everyone. So we're different parties. We have different beliefs on a lot of matters, but we're friends. And I will tell you, when he raises an issue, I listen because I know he means it. I know it's serious. And together this week, working with the council member, the senator, it's been a very special week, as you said. And look, I hope everyone understands, I've been honored to be out here this week, talking to so many Staten Islanders, listening to concerns, telling people what we're doing. But the entire government has been here with me. It wasn't like I just came out and everyone stayed back at City Hall. Everyone you see here, the heads of so many agencies, have been out here going all around the borough and talking to people and learning, and it makes a big difference. So it's an example of where cooperation actually does get things done in life. So credit your borough president that he did the harder thing, which is look for a pathway of getting things done for people rather than just posturing. It's very easy to posture. It's harder to get things done, and he's been getting things done. So I thank you for that. And to the senator, as you all know, you've seen Senator Savino for a long time. She would be such a great public servant if she could get over her shyness problem. A lot of times I say, Diane, please come out of your shell. What do you really feel? Show some emotion once in a while. Yeah, call me more often, right? Diane Savino has been a tremendous partner in so much we do. And in Albany, everywhere I go, I say Albany is a very, very difficult environment in which to get things done, and often not particularly receptive to the 5 boroughs, something I would like to see changed over time. But the senator has been a very, very forceful advocate, not just for her district, but for all of Staten Island, for all of Brooklyn, for all of the city. And I want to really particularly thank you for the leadership you've shown in these last months on the mansion tax, which is a simple proposal. It says we need to provide affordable housing for senior citizens who are stressed all over the city trying to make ends meet. It's a proposal that asks people who buy very expensive homes to pay a little more so that we can provide affordable housing for 25,000 senior citizens. 25,000 senior citizens. And the sponsor of that legislation in the state Senate is Senator Diane Savino, and we need to thank her for all the leadership she's showing. So thank you. I mentioned the members of the administration here. First of all, want to take this opportunity. We have all the leadership of the NYPD that covers this area, and obviously Chief Delatorre, who's doing a fantastic job for Staten Island. Let's thank all the leadership of the NYPD. And then we have the heads of so many key agencies. We have a deputy mayor with us too, Deputy Mayor Herminia Blasio. Thank you, Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services. But the heads of so many key agencies that affect your life. So it's the same point I made earlier that it's very, very important that any mayor come out and spend real time listening to people and working with people. But it's also really important that all these heads of agencies are here. Now, you will ask questions of me. I'll answer them. Sometimes I'll ask them to offer the information, the ideas they have. But at the end of the meeting, everyone here is available. So, unlike Diane Savino, who is very shy, I hope the rest of you are not shy, and that you will come up if you have any concern, whether it is sanitation, parks, the housing authority, small business, education, housing, school construction, you name it. You've got all sorts of key leaders here. Come up at the end if you want to talk to them, if you want to offer an idea, if you have a concern. Now, you may be hesitant because this is going to be a long meeting. I'll take a lot of questions. You may think, oh, they're tired at the end of it. I need you to know, these people do not get tired. They are so strong. They are committed public servants. They don't know the meaning of the word tired. They will be here all night if you want them to be. Yeah. Okay. I say that at some town hall meetings. I wish someone would take me up. I want to come back at like 8 in the morning and find you guys still here. I think it would be really fun. My idea of a good time. So let me say a few things. And I'll be very quick and I want to open it up. But I do want you to know some of the things that are happening. And look, everything we do in public service begins with the question of public safety. And I have to tell you, it's extraordinary what I see happening all over the city. It's extraordinary what I see happening here on Staten Island because of the strategies being implemented by the NYPD, particularly our new commitment to neighborhood policing. We see month after month crime continues to go down. And it's amazing. And not only crime as we knew it traditionally, but another key threat to public safety, which has been traffic fatalities and the crashes that have taken so many lives, so many people, so many families torn apart. And NYPD, working with Department of Transportation and TLC, has been in the forefront of the Vision Zero initiative. So I want to give you 2 facts that really, really move me. In this entire borough, last year on this date, last year, 2016, very sadly, 13 people have been lost to homicides by this point. As of this date, this year, only 4 Staten Islanders have been lost. That is an amazing improvement thanks to the men and women of the NYPD. Last year at this time, 4 people had died in traffic incidents, 4 traffic fatalities by this point last year. This year, only 1 person has been lost in all of Staten Island because of the great work these guys are doing. Losing anyone is too much. We all understand that. But what they're doing, the lives that are being saved, the families that are being kept intact is absolutely amazing. And we intend to do a lot more. We intend to go farther. And what's amazing to me, having experienced this, is that we are finding ways to fight crime like never before. We're finding ways to pinpoint the resources where the problems are the most. And as we keep moving forward, we free up officers to go and do things that there wasn't time for in the past. And now they're able to because of neighborhood policing. Because we added 2,000 officers, I want to thank the City Council, thank the council member. We added 2,000 more officers on patrol. And that's allowed us to do neighborhood policing. It's allowed us to do counterterrorism programs. It's allowed us to keep people safer. That's the number one thing we all think about. And then we think about all the other things that allow people to live their lives. And I know in this borough, as the council member mentioned, that there's such challenges getting around, such challenges getting to work all over the city. That's why the announcement we made the other day, we want to make everything related to the Staten Island Ferry better. First, I'm very proud to say my administration went to 24/7 service every half hour. And it was important. And I have to tell you, the council member has as she said, she usually comes in with very long lists. She was very clear that the experience for riders had to be better. The borough president was very persistent on this point too, that we had to fix this lower level boarding problem. Because just as I did yesterday, I've stood in that whole crowd of people waiting to get on a boat just like everyone else here has, and there had to be a better way. So we put our minds together, and now we're moving back to lower level boarding to make this a better ride for everyone. Now, Councilmember Rose is also, as I said, persistent, and she cares deeply about a fair society, an equal society, a society filled with justice. And she has a keen sense of history as well. So she talked to me about how important it would be to consider in the naming of the Staten Island Ferry. Those we have 3 new boats, as you heard, and the first one, of course, was named for Sergeant Michael Ollis, and that was amazing. I have to tell you, it was so moving to get to know the Ollis family, who are just incredible people who love this island so deeply, and to honor their son. And the council member made clear, as we consider what we're going to do with the next 2, she talked about the history and the importance of recognizing the history of people who struggled for so long. The proposal related to Sandy Ground had a petition. The council member led the effort. 568 people signed the petition. And the idea was to honor the rich heritage of Staten Island, of New York City, and of course this country. But also to help everyone know that Sandy Ground is the oldest continuously inhabited free African American settlement in the United States of America. And it played a role in one of the most dramatic grassroots efforts to free people who were enslaved, the Underground Railroad, one of the really amazing and honorable parts of our history. And so I am proud to announce, and I want to thank Councilmember Rose for her advocacy, I'm proud to announce that the second new ferry boat will be named Sandy Ground. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Now, I want you to know there are so many things we think about when we think about protecting people's lives, making their lives better, as I said. And I talked about the way we're fighting crime. I talked about the way we're protecting people from traffic fatalities. But we know, on top of that, in Staten Island, and sadly, tragically here, but also all over the city, there's been an opioid crisis. We know Staten Island's been hit particularly hard. And the NYPD has done so much, but they're the first to say that there's more to do. So what we announced in these last weeks with the leadership of Deputy Mayor Blasio was a whole new plan and a very powerfully resourced plan to go at this opioid crisis. It will depend on shifting a lot of the resources of the NYPD to stopping those who bring these drugs into our communities, particularly the drugs that are now laced with this horrible chemical fentanyl. NYPD is going to make those adjustments and go at it with everything they've got. It means continuing to make more treatment available everywhere, Staten Island and everywhere in this city. It means doing the prevention efforts. I know the borough president is really focused on it, Too Good for Drugs, and all the other efforts to teach young people and not so young people that this is an extraordinary danger. It means making sure that the reversal drug, naloxone or Narcan, is available more widely. And Chief De La Torre told me, again, we're talking about a tough and so tragic issue, but we also have to recognize the NYPD, and not just the NYPD, the other agencies as well, and everyday people who are learning how to use this drug are saving lives like never before. People, even those who go into an overdose, are being saved and being given another chance at life. And I want to thank you, Chief, again, for all you and your team are doing. We're going to be working much more closely with the hospitals, including Rumsey, to make sure that we can help people who are experiencing this scourge. They need help. They need to know that help will be made available to them. The families need to know it. And finally, we need to destigmatize this crisis. Because a lot of the time, when a family member or loved one has an addiction problem, people don't want to talk about it. They feel confused, they feel embarrassed. But if we don't talk about it, we can't get people the help they need. And I want to remind you, my wife's mental health initiative, Thrive NYC, one of the key elements is that simple phone number, 1-888-NYC-WELL. That number can connect to anyone, whether it's a family dealing with the opioid crisis or any other substance abuse or mental health issue, can connect them to trained professionals who will get them the help they need. It's as simple as that. One phone call, it can be anonymous, one phone call can connect people to the help they need. 1-888-NYC-WELL. We've got to help people to understand that. And if we do that, we're going to save more lives and we're going to turn the tide on this scourge. But we're not going to rest until we get it done. It's as simple as that. So those are some of the things that we're working on. I want to mention one other, two more I'll say, and then we'll open it up. One is, wherever you go in Staten Island, people like to let me know that they really don't like when their roads have a lot of potholes in them. Staten Islanders really don't like that. So with a little inspiration from a great sloganeer, borough president once said, "Pave, baby, pave." That was a reference to Sarah Palin, right? That was a little indirect. Maybe it was an homage, maybe not. An improvement, very nice. We are doing repaving. I want to thank Commissioner Trottenberg and her team at Department of Transportation. We are relentlessly repaving this borough. Wherever you turn, just be careful not to get in the way of the repaving machines, because they're everywhere. We're going to keep doing this because I understand, there's obviously such a need for people to get around by their cars. You deserve a better quality of life. So once again this year, we're going to hit the all-time high for repaving this summer, and you're going to see a lot of better roads in this borough. Finally, want to say one more thing on education, because we're in a wonderful school, and this is the issue that, for me, the number one thing. When I ran for mayor, I said the first thing I wanted to get done, the number one thing I wanted to get done was pre-K for all our kids. This was in my heart. I wanted to see every one of our 4-year-olds get the start they deserve. Now, we can debate the history. I would say it's quite clear for many decades Staten Island was ignored. And I think a lot of Staten Islanders are going to hold a high bar to want to see this borough get the attention it deserves on a whole host of issues. But the things I've talked about this evening, the repaving, the extraordinary efforts of the NYPD, the fight against opioids, Vision Zero, there's so many pieces that are having a hugely positive impact, including things that are very specific to Staten Island, like what we've done to improve the Staten Island Ferry. I hope as you look at these facts, you'll realize these good people who serve in our government are focused on this borough. I'm focused on this borough, but I want to give you one fact that wraps it back to the number one thing that I believed in, which was pre-K for all our kids. The school year I took office, there were about 800 kids getting full-day pre-K in Staten Island. Now there are 4,000 kids getting full-day pre-K in Staten Island. That is 5 times as many kids in full-day pre-K, meaning Staten Island is one of the places that has seen the biggest increase of any borough. And that's fair because people need it and people deserve it, and that's how we look at all these issues. So I want to thank everyone again. I look forward to the whole discussion tonight. I'm going to reiterate what Debbie said. Please, when you get up, ask the question, the number one question on your mind, and get it out there as straightforward as you can, because a lot of other people want an opportunity, and we want to get to as many people. We're going to be here for quite a while. We want to get to as many people as we can. So I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. Let's hear it again for the mayor. This has been a most productive week. Are you surprised at some of the accomplishments we had this week? The mayor had the commissioners working really hard this week, and I don't know how long they're going to be able to sit here tonight. So with that, I will now take questions. Please raise your hand, and I will acknowledge you. Is Tanisha? Oh, while you're standing, yes. Yeah. And before she stands, I want to acknowledge Mount Manresa, that they brought flowers. Mr. Mayor, although we love you, they brought flowers for the First Lady. And so, no. Okay. And so, as you know,
she always gets the flower. I never get the flowers. She gets the flowers every time.
This has been a wonderful partnership this week, and we've had the attention of both the mayor and the First Lady. Tanisha?
Great, thank you. Good evening. My name is Tanisha Franks. I am the founder of Mothers Against Senseless Killing Staten Island and co-founder of this evening's town hall. Thank you so much for coming. The question that I have is, there are a lot of policies that have been reformed for the betterment of our community and the young people in them. Please forgive me for mixing up the local, city, and state policies, but we saw the end of stop, question, and frisk in the way that it was, the cessation of very recently of 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds being charged as adults, restorative justice in our schools, and we are grateful for those changes because our communities have suffered through a great deal. Institutional racism is real. Social engineering is real. The dysfunction in our communities is not a natural phenomenon. So as we move forward to level the playing field, we want to know...
Question?
Oh, yes,
Question.
This is it. As we move forward to level the playing field, we want to know about the programs and policies that will create sustainable growth in our communities so we can be successful in education, economics, and civil engagement.
Thank you. Okay, that's a really big question. But that's a good question, but it's a really big question. Now I'm going to try and give you the condensed answer. I think the criminal justice reforms, which we fundamentally believe can be done while keeping us safe, and that is the balance that we have to strike, and we believe we are striking that balance. That it still goes back to, that's only one piece of the puzzle, as you said, I think exactly. If people have a good education, they don't end up in contact with the criminal justice system. If they have affordable housing, if they have jobs, there's been so many situations where people for generations didn't have those opportunities. We are trying to get to the root cause. So the whole concept here, for example, with the pre-K program, was give everyone the same opportunity. Now, that program's for everyone in New York City, every neighborhood, every background, every income level. That is a notion of literally creating fairness across our society. And kids who get pre-K, it's been proven consistently, have a much greater chance of educational success and life success. So we're going to try and deepen those kind of things throughout our whole school system. Our equity and excellence vision is about improving schools across the board, presenting the notion early on for kids of a college-going culture. Although a lot of kids may make another choice, that's fine, but we want every child to know they have that opportunity for college if it works for them. That's one piece of the puzzle. The job creation, which we think a lot of the development that can happen in this borough can really provide those jobs. We want to keep making sure they're high-quality jobs. And so the plan we put forward back in the State of the City address for 100,000 new good-paying jobs in tech, healthcare, film and TV, life sciences areas that we want young people from Staten Island, and again, not so young people as well, to have direct opportunities that the city is going to be fostering and direct connection to those new kinds of jobs that are so much better paying and a family can live on. And then affordable housing. We have an affordable housing plan that will create enough for 500,000 people, the biggest in decades. And so you have, to my view, to your question, you have to add all those pieces together to change the structural reality. It will be difficult, as you said in the beginning, state and federal. We feel we get uneven results from the state despite the good efforts of the senator, and we're deeply concerned about the federal situation. I mean, that's an area where we're very concerned about the kinds of cuts that could hurt Staten Island and the whole city. But for our vision in this city, it goes right to the heart of your question. It is fundamental change in schools and affordable housing and job creation and how we get jobs to people from every kind of neighborhood. That, I think, is the beginning of a more just society where young people go on the right path. That's my snapshot for you.
Hands?
My name is Daniel Clark. I'm the executive director of the Staten Island Business Outreach Center and the nearby Forest Avenue bid right down the block. Thank you for coming out to the neighborhood. So my question is, in many ways, the key to Staten Island's success is balancing our desire to maintain a unique small town community, a bedroom community with a bit of a suburban flair, while playing a role in the economic growth of New York City. So with major developments on the way that are posed to transform the North Shore, in effect, transform the rest of the island, what are your office's plans to help Staten Island preserve its unique suburban identity, particularly focusing on the existing mom and pop businesses that we have in our historic Main Street corridors, such as Forest Avenue?
You know, we are working with small businesses all over the city to try and with business improvement districts and others to try and really create the kind of shopping areas that people keep coming to. I mean, one of the things that's very important is to make sure that folks choose to patronize their local stores, even though, you know, there are big stores and big box stores and stores in Jersey and all that. We want to create an environment where people shop in their local stores. So we're working directly with the business community to make sure shopping areas are as appealing as possible. But part of it also, to me, is to just get away from some of the policies that past, I think, undermined our communities and our stores, particularly what I think were very punitive policies, heavy fines that used to be levied on small businesses, particularly in the outer boroughs. I say that as a Brooklynite. When I was public advocate, we did the study of this, and it was unquestionably true that outer borough merchants were faced with more fines than in Manhattan. So we've greatly reduced those fines. We have more to do, but we greatly reduced them because it was, for many people, adding up to thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's one piece of occasion one part of the solution is to just reduce those burdens, and find ways to make those shopping areas, you know, the go-to for people in local communities. I think the other thing is to, you know, recognize, look, we have some areas that can be developed and can create a lot of jobs, and we need that too. But those are very careful choices, and they're done with the council member, they're done with the borough president, they're done in a public process. That's some parts of the island, but obviously many, many parts of the island are going to stay exactly the way they are. I think that's the balance we have to strike, is that, the city has become more expensive. People need jobs, and they need better paying jobs. Right now, we have 4.3 million jobs in New York City. It's the most jobs we've ever had in our history. But we need more of them to be good paying. And so that's a crucial element of our strategies, is to, again, develop those kind of fields. In this borough, the film and TV industry wants to have a bigger presence here. The tech industry wants to have a bigger presence here. The tech industry in New York City is almost 350,000 jobs, and it's growing all the time. So part of the equation to me is figuring out the right places where you can develop those kind of jobs, figuring out the ways to get higher incomes for people so they can afford to stay here, but obviously at the same time protecting the quality of life in neighborhoods. I think we can strike that balance.
Thank you. Hands up.
Good evening. My name is Prince Thomas. I live in Park Hill. I'm the Vice President of People United for Better Park Hill, an internet association. My only question is, we need a community center. Very bad. I listen to everybody talk, but the youth, give them something to do. That's all.
Thank you. This man just proved that eloquence can be brief. Thank you. Look, I agree, and I want to tell you, first thing I want to say is I share that view, so much so that we created for middle school kids. And again, I say to anyone who's got a middle school child, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, or knows a middle school child, you know how difficult that time of life is, right? I can hear the painful groan going through the room. So we decided, in that exact same vein you're talking about, that every middle school child in New York City should have full pre-K, 3 hours a day after school, pre-K for free for every child.
Woohoo!
Okay?
Woo!
Now, that is available now in every part of New York City. If you have a middle school child, they're entitled to free after school. Did I say pre-K? After school. Sorry. I could do this right. After school. After school. It's been a long night. After school. Every middle school kid gets free after school. And a lot of kids are benefiting. But there's still kids who are not taking advantage, and families not taking advantage of it. So part one I want to say to you is, we are making a benefit available exactly for that reason. We want to see middle school kids, when they finish school, be able to go to a safe, secure place, get tutoring, get homework help, recreation, cultural programs. That is available, but not enough people are taking us up on it. So I want to work with you and your organization and others to spread that word. But I know we also need more youth centers, something we're trying to invest in more and more places. It's not cheap, but we're trying to invest in more and more places. But I just want to say, I will try. I can't make a commitment to you tonight, but I can tell you it's something we have as a priority citywide. Very sympathetic to it. But I need your help to make sure the thing we already have, which is the after school for middle school kids, that every family that can take advantage of it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. We are here once again to greet you, and we have another question for you, and the question this time is, would you be gracious enough to help us with, we are co-applicants with Community Board 1 for the rezoning of 3 communities, Clifton, Rosebank, and Fort Wadsworth. There's a contextual rezoning. We want to protect the character of those communities, and we don't want to see the 1- and 2-family homes demolished and replaced by multiple unit dwellings. The community is small, the infrastructure, the resources cannot handle it. We first met with city planning and we were very encouraged 2 years ago. The question is this: will you please intervene to speed this process along, because it has met with obstruction and lack of cooperation here on Staten Island?
All right, so this is, I'm going to tell you what I feel. So in a town hall meeting, I try and level with people. And sometimes, and I'll be very straightforward. This, by the way, this is a very persistent group, and impressively so. I've seen you many, many times. And so much so, before I tell you what I think, and we're not going to fully agree on this, I'm going to tell you up front. But I do want you to remember the time you told me, why don't you go and try and buy the site from the developer? And we have our new city planning chair, just started a few weeks ago, Marissa Lago is here. And Marissa's predecessor, Carl Weisbrod, called up the developer and said, what's it going to take? We will buy it from you. And the developer said no.
No back and forth.
No, that's okay. She's thanking me, damn it.
Oh, okay.
No, there's one kind of back and forth.
Okay, all right.
That is okay.
All right.
So in that vein, I never give my word if I'm not ready to keep it. We are not there on the rezoning idea. I want to be real with you. We have a new city planning chair, as I said, and we'll always listen and we'll talk to the council member, but we're not there yet. We believe the community is a fantastic community, and right now, I think its long-term prospects are very good to stay that way, honestly. We are trying to focus our rezonings when we don't think communities are threatened. The number one focus right now is where we can create more housing, because we desperately need housing in this city, where in some cases we can create jobs, particularly good paying jobs. But your community, that's not what we're thinking of, and we don't see a threat to it. So the answer is today, we think things are pretty good the way they are. But if we see something change, we're always willing to talk to you, the council member. The city planning chair watches like a hawk, and you should meet her afterwards. So we'll keep watching, but not yet.
All right. Thank you. Judy?
Going all around. We're going to go round and around the room.
Okay. Thank you. I'm here for a very brief discussion, or rather question, on 12-year broken sidewalks on St. Mark's. I know there was someone here previously this week that spoke with you at this meeting, but they didn't have the information I have. I want to hand in the documentation for the 12-year research on trying to get the broken sidewalks fixed.
Thank you.
And I am with a walker. There are many residents in the area handicapped, and also the PS16 elementary school kids. We all risk our lives walking the streets because I cannot walk anywhere else. The other side is narrow and taken by many school children. Okay. So the question is, the Department of Transportation stated, when your case is assigned, you will receive a notification of our action. Above locations was inspected and violations were issued to to property owners with defective sidewalks. That was in May 2016, forgive me. I want to know that you have a commitment to deal with the Department of Transportation, that when will this happen? When will they finally fix these sidewalks?
And tell me, where do you live?
St. Mark's Place, 165.
And just help me out, in that immediate area, what kind of housing is there?
I live in a high-rise. Mm-hmm. There's 2 buildings.
What, is it a Mitchell-Lama, or what is it?
Excuse me?
Mitchell-Lama?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the woman who talked to me about this the other day you mentioned.
Yes.
Right, okay.
But she didn't have the information.
She didn't have it with her.
Department of Transportation.
So it's a Mitchell-Lama, a lot of seniors in particular.
And many schools.
Right, and the sidewalks, obviously a particular challenge for seniors. I still don't know who owns these sidewalks and what the situation has been to date, but what can we do about it, Commissioner?
Well, we'll take a look, and as folks may know, building owners are responsible for the sidewalks around their buildings. The city handles sidewalks for city buildings, and now we're doing a lot of work on NYCHA buildings. I don't know the particulars of this building, so we can talk to you afterwards.
They're private.
The issue is, how long does a person have to wait?
So let's ask it this way. It's a very fair question. I appreciate it. If the senator is weighing in, I appreciate it. If a private developer, landlord, owns something and consistently doesn't deal with, not talking about one family home, but major property owner, what do we do?
Right. We send them notices of violation, and actually, if they fail to repair their sidewalks, we put a lien on their building. They can't sell their building. And we can sometimes, the city will come and do the repairs and bill the owner, but we don't have the ability to do that everywhere in the city.
Okay. So, Commissioner likes to get out and about. I know she does. So she's going to come visit you and see for herself to see if we can fix this problem and get the commissioner, the property owner, to pay. Thank you.
Okay. I'll get you. I promise. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Mr. Mayor, thanks for coming. I'm strongly in favor of the new parental leave policy that you instituted. However, I feel it's very unfair that a single group has to pay for this, that management was docked 2 days' pay to pay for this. I think it should have come either out of general funds or some other funding rather than one specific group having to pay for it.
I think it's a little bit different in my view. I appreciate the question. Look, for folks in the managerial classifications, because of the way that folks got vacation days and other things, we thought this was a fair approach. But for folks who are in other classifications and different unions, we have to work it out union by union, and that's still going on. I understand the point, obviously. But, in the scheme of things, we felt this was a fundamental change we had to make for our workforce and for our society. That, I'm sure the history, that this country is one of the places that gives the least parental leave of any advanced country on earth. And we need it, and we don't have the luxury, this is just reality of the city budget, we don't have the luxury of offering such a thing without some way to compensate for it. But we thought it was a fair way that had, got to a major need in a balanced way. So I understand the concern. We did consider that, but we thought it was a fair outcome. For the other vast majority of city workers, that's something we have to negotiate union by union. There you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Marjorie Garvin, and I would like to ask you if you would support the use of the old Staten Island courthouse, the old criminal courthouse on Toddy Street, for a vocational training such in plumbing, electricity, and maybe welding, and other trades there.
Appreciate the question. The council member got there first, and council member has already begun strongly encouraging me on this front. I have not come to a decision, is the honest answer. I think that is one of the options that could be good. I also think we may be able to do more than one thing in that facility. So that's one that I guess the way I'd say it is, we're closing in on a solution. I think it's something we'll be able to determine in the next couple of months. That is on the table, but I can't commit yet.
Thank you. John, and then.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Welcome again to Staten Island, and welcome to my alma mater, Anning S. Pro, IS-27.
Excellent.
Right.
I work with anti-violence groups to help kids. Many of the members are in the audience, Occupy the Block, along with MASK. And I just wanted to ask you...
Let's give them a round of applause. Yeah. Occupy the Block and MASK.
What I wanted to ask you, I really appreciate your courage in standing up and embracing the principles outlined in the More Just NYC, Mr. Lippman's, Judge Lippman's report, and how you've embraced some of those concepts, and I really appreciate that. My concern is with the timeline, with the a lot of the recreational facilities around Staten Island are being rebuilt right now. The timeline for addressing some of the issues at Rikers Island is extremely long. It's 10 years. So my question is there any way possible, because we have to remember, during these 10 years, we're still losing youth. We're still going to be losing youth, not just to crime, but to all sorts of other issues, drugs and things like that. So the faster we get these things turned around is the faster that we can improve conditions within our communities.
I appreciate that. I do. Let me first say, the organizations you named that are part of the Cure Violence movement, and there's so many names, Crisis Management System, Cure Violence, Violence Interrupters, you name it. These organizations are doing wonderful work, helping to keep particularly young people from going on the wrong path, helping to stop violence before it happens, helping to get folks who have started on the wrong path to come back from it. And I think their work was underappreciated in the past. We are making it now much more of a priority. And the NYPD has made a strategic decision in the last year or two to really engage deeply with these organizations and now treat them as strategic partners. And I know Chief Della Torre has been in the forefront of that, and I appreciate it. It's making a big difference. So that's such a good thing to begin with. But to your question, the 10 years, and I said very honestly when I announced the closure of Rikers, 10 years is an aggressive timeline. It may even take longer. But that doesn't stop us in the meantime. I don't want anyone to be left with the concept that we aren't doing a whole host of other things in the meantime to try and make sure that young people don't even end up there to begin with. That is really the name of the game. So the reason we were able to even get to the point of saying we could close Rikers was because crime kept going down. And if you're not needing to arrest people, they don't go to jail. It's as simple as that. And we projected that we would keep driving it down consistently. And then that the bail reform, the alternative sentencing, a lot of other things were starting to work. We need to do things like speed up the trial process. But we think all these things can come together. The work in the meantime, though, it's neighborhood policing, it's cure violence, it's better educational options, it's more after-school options. It's all of these things that, to me, are the essential way to move young people in the right direction. That work is deepening all the time. So there is, it's a perfectly fair question, but I just want you to hear, we intend, in fact, I think you should see them as very complementary. We intend to reach more and more young people, including this employment piece, which is crucial. We're doing a lot more, and the council has been adamant about summer youth employment. We're doing a lot more of that. We've doubled the number of summer youth jobs in the last 3 years.
That's right.
More mentorship programs, more internship programs. All these pieces are going to add up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marian Bongolan, and I live in the South Shore in Great Kills, which is a mess.
In where? You said South Shore, where?
Great Kills. And my question, it's a mess in terms of addiction, and we hit the newspaper several times because of the crimes in the Great Kill train station. And my question, it's two-pronged, but they are connected. One is transportation. Why can't we use the Great Kill station for fast ferry? It was done during Sandy for a little bit, and it would relieve the huge problem.
Everyone's got to be brief in the question.
Okay, but it's connected with the crimes, because also I see that the kids are hanging around, they have no place to go, and I have a place that's been empty for about 20 years in Great Kills. Can it be transformed into a recreation center? That's on Amboy Road.
Let me jump in. So you're asking the exact same question the gentleman over there asked, and again, it's the question I get at town hall meetings all over the city. There's a tremendous desire for more recreation centers. It's very good question, very fair question. We are trying consistently to build more. I can't say yes to you tonight. And again, I want to be scrupulously honest in this meeting. But if you tell me there's a place that might work, we're now going to take a look at it. We'll clearly work with the borough president as well and see what we might be able to do to achieve that. So that would take some time, but we will look at it. To the question, though, if you're worried about the situation with young people there, like Chief, you tell me if it's you or one of your colleagues wants to come up and speak to that. If there is a concern about young people hanging around that area and getting into trouble, let's hear from the chief about what he is doing and his colleagues are doing.
I have Ebony here with me, the commander of the 122. But I'll talk first. So we are well aware of the situation around the Great Kills train station. The crimes have not actually been on it. There have been a couple of crimes, I would say over the course of the last 3 or 4 months in the area of it. But the 122 is just transformed into a neighborhood NCO precinct, right? Neighborhood coordination, with neighborhood coordination officers, right? So you're good, you got it. So, and we're seeing a tremendous overall impact since we've turned into a neighborhood-based policing precinct. We're seeing a big reduction in crime. We're seeing officers who can look at a home and say, yeah, I know there's a drug problem in that home, and if I hear anyone call 911 for any reason in that home, I know I better get over there quick because it's probably an overdose. We're seeing officers go out and pick up these kids. We have a program in Staten Island we've been piloting called Youth First. And one of the problems we find out here, and it's probably everywhere, is like the last thing I ever want to face is someone telling me that my child has a drug problem. And my child can have all the signs. He can walk in front of me, I'm using drugs, and I still will close my eyes as a parent. It's the last thing I want to see or face. So one of the things we're doing now, not just in the 122, but across the island, and dealing with that youth problem with the drugs, is when we come across a person under the age of 18 who we believe is under the influence of drugs, not an overdose. That goes without saying. They have to get Narcan, go to the hospital. Just under the influence of drugs, we are calling EMS to come over to evaluate the child, to say yes or no, this child is under the influence of drugs. And if they are, in fact, under the influence of drugs, we then have them removed by ambulance to the hospital, not knowing whether the drugs they're on are going to become fatal at some later point in the day or not. So we have to establish that. But there's another core reason to why we do this. We reach out to our partners, Jackie Fury from the YMCA, Luke Nasta from Camelot, from TISA, Adrian Abadi. We call them out, and they respond out to the hospital, not to meet the child, to meet the parent, to get them to open their eyes and know what they're really up against, to catch this disease as early as possible and to do something about it. We don't have a lot of kids so far. We have 11 so far that we've engaged. 6 of them we followed up with. We know they're getting services. But our youngest child was just a week ago. It wasn't drugs, it was alcohol, but the child was 8 years old. Okay? But this is where the child lies to the parent, and me, the parent, I want to believe the lie because it's too hard to believe the truth. So our counselors are responding out, engaging the parents, and we're trying to start as early as we can saving those lives. So we're hoping to have a real impact over Great Kills in that area behind the buildings, where the kids hang out behind the parking lot at night on the weekends. We're hoping to have a real impact over there, scooping them up one at a time and engaging their parents at the hospitals. So I hope I answered your question well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to really add really quick, the 122 has been an NCO command for the last 2 months. I've seen a huge reduction in complaints in and around the Great Kills train station. We've also collaborated with the MTA. And June 1st, at the Great Kills Friendship Club, we will have our own safety summit meeting. So you're welcome, invited. Please see me after. Okay? Thank you.
I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry.
I'm getting there.
Good evening. My name is Eileen Harrington, and I live in St. George. I think we can all agree that when developing the city's shoreline, increased waterfront access is critical. When the New York Wheel came to town, we attended all of the dog and pony shows, and we were shown a design for a proposed ramp at the intersection of Nicholas Street and Richmond Terrace that would accommodate pedestrian and bicycle access directly to the waterfront. In a classic bait and switch, the developer now has the Nicholas Street ramp lead directly into the second floor of the new parking garage instead of to the waterfront.
Question.
The question is, Mr. Mayor, we ask you to hold the developer accountable and make him and force him to accommodate pedestrian and bicycle access to our waterfront.
Thank you. There's James. That's right. So we take this point very seriously. And any time that we're working with a developer, we expect them to keep their commitments. So obviously, access is a very big issue, and this development, and many others. James Katz is here, the Chief of Staff of the Economic Development Corporation. Can you speak to the specific commitment that was made and what we're doing to enforce it?
Sure. We know that when the New York Wheel and Empire Outlets came to town, there were a number of commitments that were made, many of them at the behest and under the leadership of Councilmember Rose, and we think it's absolutely critical that those commitments be kept. Personally not familiar with the story about the ramp running into the garage, but I do want to learn more about it. I will say that as we think about development as a city, and particularly here in Staten Island, we think it's absolutely critical that as growth comes, as new units of housing come online, as new jobs come, we think about it in a sensible way as well and keep the character of our city in the way we all know it and love it. And that is about both a commitment to open space and making sure that people have a space to live, breathe, and play in their communities, and it is about reclaiming access to our waterfront. Nearby at New Stapleton, we are thinking about and working on new acreage of park space at Phase 1. That should come online in 2019 with more to come in 2020 to try to continue that.
I need you to answer a question.
We will meet and we will talk about what is happening at the wheel.
And I just wanted to say, you know, we've heard about that issue, and we have agreed to meet with, the developer has agreed to meet with the community to clarify whatever the issue is in terms of access. Okay. No, I can't, Rich. No back and forth. I'm sorry. But we have committed, the developer has committed to have the conversation about the access. Okay? So, okay. Education. Lori, and then Kelly.
I yield to Kelly Villar.
Great. Thank you.
Just because I'm taller.
Right. Let me let him finish.
Question? Come on.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. By the way, I met First Lady Charlene yesterday. She was wonderful at the Pride Center, so it was great to have her. My question is this. It's really a follow-up to last year when you came to the town hall. You shared with us two things. One was that Cromwell would come as a result of the rezoning, and two was that Staten Island would get a indoor pool. So we're concerned about this. Obviously, recreation is a recurring theme around here. North Shore, terribly, in need. And I know that the City Council is going to is putting this in their budget. And I'm hoping that you will support it as well, Cromwell, getting funded for fiscal year 2018. And, both of these issues in terms of Cromwell and also the indoor pool, I have, they're enormous issues for Staten Islanders. And it's the one thing that I think most Staten Islanders agree on. Rebuild Cromwell, and Patrides cannot be where the indoor pool is.
Question. No question.
So I need to know what your feelings are about that, and will you support Cromwell in the next budget?
Okay, so again, I like being straight up with people. Now, I committed to an indoor pool for Staten Island. There's going to be an indoor pool for Staten Island. So I'm going to start at the beginning. There's going to be an indoor pool for Staten Island. There has not been an indoor pool historically, a public pool. Now there will be. We are still working out, and I think that decision is not far off the location. Now, you presented some of the picture. I'm not saying this to be negative. I'm saying you raised some of the pieces. Cromwell said it 100 times, as recently as several times this week to the council member. It is going to be worked through as part of the rezoning process, which will take us into next year, but that's how we're doing. We're not going to proactively do it in the budget. That's just a real answer. It has to be determined as part of the rezoning, because rezoning looks at all elements of the community and all.
No back and forth.
The rezoning, the council member will have a lot to say on that topic, but we believe the rezoning offers an opportunity for a massive infusion of resources into a community. They don't happen that often. The last one in East New York, I think, is ample evidence of how much went into that community in the process. But we look at the whole picture because council members and community members will raise a whole bunch of stuff normally, naturally, and very costly stuff, and we have to make a decision in the end of what is going to be the priority with the community. That's why we don't pre-commit to things. We want everything on the table. We'll make a decision as part of the rezoning. But that decision at this point is scheduled for next year, and we're going to be a very public, open process. Okay. That's part. So one, we have a pool location to be determined. Very important to me in that decision is access to that pool. But let's be clear, it is a pool for all of Staten Island. I want to see access, the maximum access, and I want to see different ways we could do that, and then I have to come to a decision. Cromwell through the rezoning. But there's more in the discussion, and council members pushed this point strongly. The borough president has pushed this strongly. There's the Goodhue property that we're still trying to work out the future of. And then there are some other interesting and intriguing options. I will only say it that way. There are other interesting and intriguing options to provide recreation space and to help our young people. So all of this stuff is moving along. I've got to think about how it all fits in an equitable manner. But the good news is, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but it's sure nice to be arguing over which recreation facility will happen when, as opposed to there are no recreation facilities. We're discussing things are going to move. Things are going to move, and it's going to have a big impact on Staten Islanders. I guarantee that.
Okay. You don't want to ask your question? Okay. Right here.
Thanks, Lori. You go ahead. Hi, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, for being here. So I'm going to talk to you about health care. I think you can tell by my
I think I was going to say, I get a feeling she's going to ask about health care.
So really, this is about, our health care needs on Staten Island and the fact that, I'm sure you're aware we don't get as many resources from the city as the other boroughs do. We don't have an acute care H&H facility. We're happy to see that Vanderbilt is going to be opening. We've waited, I think, like 7 years for that to happen.
Yep.
I'm particularly concerned about mental health resources here.
Yep.
We've seen actually, right after Hurricane Sandy, we lost 30 inpatient detox beds. We lost another 30 acute care psychiatric beds. And I'm not talking about the kind of places where people are institutionalized for long periods. I'm talking about the kind of places that people go for acute care when they're in crisis. Just like any medical condition, you're getting good outpatient treatment, but patients need a place to go when they have a crisis. And so we've lost about something like 70 beds.
Okay, we need a punchline.
Punchline is, what can the city do to help us and give us more health resources, particularly mental health?
Amen. I will bring the deputy mayor up, and I'll start, and then Deputy Mayor Blasio, who is also Dr. Blasio, will speak to the situation. Look, I'm very clear that there's been uneven history. And one of the things we've sought to do is to start to address that. So the Vanderbilt Clinic, you're right, it was theory in previous administrations, is actually being built in this administration. And that's going to help a lot of Staten Islanders. And I'm proud of that fact. The city council was able to get resources to the hospitals. We were able to get resiliency resources to the hospitals, different ways we've been able to do different funding for the existing voluntary hospitals, but that's been important. And I know there's been some other pieces in the equation, including some of them that reflect the mental health challenge. I will only say my wife has been out here, obviously her focus has been mental health. She's been out here a lot of times meeting with Staten Islanders who are focused on mental health. She's keen about the notion we have to keep the resources flowing, and the Thrive Plan is a very well-resourced plan, and Staten Island is going to be an important part of it. But can you speak, Deputy Mayor, to other things we're doing, particularly about mental health?
Sure. So thank you for that question. Vanderbilt is going to be a very exciting. I attended the groundbreaking. It's 18,000 square feet. It's ambulatory care, and it's part of the larger transformation that we're doing. This is the wave of the future. Health and hospitals is moving into the 21st century, transitioning from inpatient care to outpatient care. Mental health, as the mayor said, Thrive NYC, a huge program, in particular around mental health and substance abuse with Healing NYC. This plan to really address the opioid addiction here is critically important. Today, I actually met with several of the community-based organizations. I met with Staten Island PPS. We are doing tremendous work in partnership to expand services. Behavioral health will be a huge component of the Vanderbilt Clinic. We want to treat people and keep them in their homes and use psychiatric beds, of course, when needed. But the way that we want to address mental health in particular is outpatient, strong behavioral health, strong primary care, keeping people healthy and safe in their communities.
Okay. Beryl, Dan? Beryl?
Hello, my name is Beryl Thurman. I'm with the North Shore Waterfront Conservancy of Staten Island, and my question has to do with the Staten Island passenger loading barge that we used to have at the ferry terminal, but in 2015 it was taken out on the East River by New York City EDC where it was damaged, and since that time we've not had access to the passenger loading barge for small boats, and we need that in order to be able to give our people access to the water so that we can do our boat tours of Staten Island. And we're wondering when we're going to get our barge back.
Thank you for the question, and I'm going to look to DOT and EDC. You can either both, whoever's got it, get you a microphone. Someone got a microphone for him. There we go. Okay.
This is one where I think we can deliver some good news. There is federal funding in place to repair the barge during Sandy that was damaged, and we are looking forward to return it back to the people of Staten Island. It will take some time. We hope to have some progress to report by the end of this year.
Very good. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to join us this evening. My name is Dan Messina. I'm the president and CEO of RUMSI. Mr. Mayor, with Staten Island being the only borough without a public hospital, Richmond University is the de facto public hospital. I understand the complexities of funding restraints to private institutions, and we are really a critical access provider in the strictest sense of the word. We truly need financial support to ensure a level playing field that is just and fair. While I speak for healthcare in general on Staten Island, RUMSI serves 72% of the island's total population living at or below federal poverty levels. RUMSI is located in all federally designated medically underserved areas. During the Ebola crisis, we learned that our neighborhood actually had the highest Liberian population next to Liberia.
Question, Dan?
My question is, on behalf of our 3,000 union employees, is there any financial support that could somehow come forward for Staten Island?
Again, what we are trying to do is, one, respond to the historic inequity by putting public facilities in. That's what Vanderbilt is. And two, providing funding in the ways we can. From time to time, as you know, there are some things that are exceptions to the rule that we can't fund the private hospital or voluntary hospitals directly, like in one instance in terms of resiliency. The city council, because of the way they do discretionary funding, has had the freedom to make some of those choices themselves, and obviously they've taken that opportunity. But right now, the honest truth is we cannot find a way around the precedent issue that if we start funding voluntary hospitals, that creates an impossibility for us. Right now, our public hospital system, as you know, is exceedingly financially strained. And that is before the potential budget cuts that can come from the federal budget, and that's before any damage that might be done to the Affordable Care Act. So I've got a bunch of public hospitals that I'm trying to keep going, and that is something that communities right now are depending on, and we have to keep together. And there's not a prospect, and you would agree, I'm sure, of creating a whole public hospital on Staten Island. So there is, because there isn't. It's just not going. It's not going to happen financially. It's not going to happen because the facilities that are here now are doing a good job. You need financial help. I don't have an easy way to get it for you. We're going to keep looking for ways to do it, either in terms of clinics to take some of the pressure off you, and we think Vanderbilt will do some of that, or special opportunities to fund you where we can find a discrete avenue like either resiliency or city council funding. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor de Blasio and Ms.
Put the microphone closer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, Mayor de Blasio. So, I just want to say my question has to deal with school summons, because there has been an increase in summons given to those who are, oh my God, students who are of Latino and Black descent. 70% of summons are for non-criminal violations and misdemeanors. And I believe that there are better issues to deal with this instead of the criminal justice system getting involved. Yeah. And I myself had been given a summons last summer, for a small misdemeanor for not paying the fare on the bus, because it was the summertime. I didn't have my MetroCard with me. And basically, if you want this city to be known as a sanctuary place for undocumented people, and if our schools are to be known as a safe haven, obviously there's work to be done.
Question. Get to your question.
Will you end arrests and summons in schools for low-level offenses?
Again, I try and tell people the truth as I know it, so the answer is no, and I want to explain why. Because I believe, look, you raised several different points at once, all valid, important points. I heard one piece of it that's about trying to have a justice system in terms of young people that's fair to young people. I heard one part of it that's about folks who are undocumented. But I want to start at the beginning, which is public safety. Public safety demands that we look at everything we're doing. This is what NYPD does all day long, and school safety does. We look at what outcome we get from what we're doing. If what we're doing ends up with a safer dynamic for everyone involved, that's the bottom line we're trying to achieve. We found that a lot of the approach to school discipline, so I'm talking about first inside the schools, a lot of the approach was overly punitive and was not achieving our goal of safety. NYPD, over the last 5 years, school safety has reduced crime in schools by 35%. And we have done that while doing fewer suspensions and fewer punitive actions towards young people. We focused on where there's the biggest problems, and then where we found smaller problems, we've had other approaches that we think work better, restorative justice, et cetera. That's one piece of the equation. In terms of quality of life offenses like not being able to pay a fare, look, I'm sure you didn't intend to end up in that situation. But come on, everyone is responsible for paying a fare if they're on something. Now, that's just a bottom line reality. But if all you ever did was you didn't have the money for a fare, you can get a summons, but you don't get arrested. You get a summons. And the quality of life offenses lead to summonses. The summonses do not lead to any contact with the broader criminal justice system or the federal government. If you're arrested for something, that's when the issue of contact with criminal justice system and federal government comes into play. But if what someone does, they don't have their money for the fare, you'll get a summons. But that's it. If you do it a lot of times, that's a different discussion. But if you do it once, something just happened, you get a summons. So, we start from public safety, but the notion that whenever we talk about the situation with immigration, we bring it right back to public safety. This is what Commissioner O'Neill has said very clearly. This city, in my administration, in the Bloomberg administration, in the Giuliani administration, has not asked the documentation status of anyone we come in contact with, whether it's police, education, public hospitals, because we need everyone to know we will serve them, that are not in danger of deportation if they work with us. We're not going to ask your status or anyone else's status. We're going to serve you. We expect that you feel comfortable, or anyone feel comfortable coming forward if you see a crime or if you're a victim of a crime. But we also have an obligation to keep the city safe. That's our number one obligation to everyone. So the question is a very honest question, but I'm giving you an honest answer. The answer is no. We're going to keep giving those summonses. We believe it's the right thing to do.
Bobby?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for spending this much time on Staten Island. Hopefully we can make a habit of it. Thank you, Councilman Debbie Rose and Borough President James Otto. My name is Bobby Digi. I'm the president of the Staten Island Democratic Association. I'm a community advocate and a small business owner. I wanted to ask a small business question, but I feel that the Bach touched upon it, and Greg Bishop's doing a great job. But on behalf of the African community, because my parents are from Nigeria, I'd like to ask for the Liberian and Sierra Leoneans who are facing a TPS deadline, a hard deadline in May, and for the Sierra Leoneans and other West African population that are dealing with the DED deadline in March. Those are hard deadlines. Is this on your radar, and is there support that you can give the councilwoman who has recently been working with the leadership to sort of address the anxiety that the community is facing? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first status I'm familiar with. The second one, the DED, I actually don't know enough about. But we have dealt with this issue before, not only with the countries that are the homelands of so many people here in Staten Island, but we've dealt with it previously with a number of other countries that went through, disasters and upheavals, and people here were left in a tough situation. I very much support the notion that we should show flexibility and not create a bigger problem for those countries, and try and recognize that the people who are here are often sending the support down to the countries that are going through all these tragedies. So I believe that that is the right thing to do, to continue those statuses while each country goes through getting back on its feet, and I'll certainly support the council members' efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry, and then, okay, Belinda.
Good evening. Thank you for spending your evening with us, Mayor. I went to PS 44 in Mariners Harbor, graduated at the top of my class. Now they're saying the students at PS 44 can't read. What is going on at PS 44? Can you ask your commissioner or your chancellor to look at PS 44 and evaluate the needs of the students in the Mariners Harbor community? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. So, P.S. Where's Dorita is here, and is the superintendent is not here, but Dorita is here. I know the superintendent had to be away, but let me get the deputy chancellor to speak to this. I appreciate you raising it. Look, let me say as she comes up, I'll be real with you, I'm not familiar with the specific details of the school, but I am familiar with the history, which is quite clear, of many schools in this city where, way too few kids were reading on grade level and obviously getting the academic level of achievement they deserve. The vision I've talked about, equity and excellence, is about core investments, pre-K, after school, a lot more professional development for teachers, a lot more focus on reading, particularly getting kids reading on grade level by second grade, so when they take that test in third grade, they're on grade level. There's huge investments being made in reading specialists to focus on that. I'm not going to suggest we snap our fingers, it's all done, but it's a major, major investment in schools all across the city, but particularly those that have not gotten their fair share. But let me have the chancellor speak to this. Come on over. All my colleagues, come close to me when you're answering the question. So, PS 44, what can we do to address this issue, and tell about how you can follow up personally?
I will follow up with you, but I am very familiar with the situation. The principal was out sick for a while, but we're very much aware of what's going on in the school. The superintendent has been there. Kevin Moran from our Field Support Center has also been there, and we're working to make sure that everything is in place instructionally, but also socially emotional, and that we have the right people in place in the building. But I'm glad that you're a graduate of it, and I know 44 when good things are happening, and we're aware, but we'll keep working on it, and we'll keep you apprised. Thank you.
And I'm pleased to say that we met with the chancellor this morning in my office, and that was one of the issues that she said that was on her radar, and she's dealing with it, and we should see some sort of outcomes by the end of June.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Chancellor. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, for coming to Staten Island, and thank you, Debbie, for allowing me to speak.
Wait, where am I looking? There you are. Okay.
I've known you for years, back to David Dinkins' times when we was volunteers together.
Good to see you.
Thank you. We have a situation, Debbie knows, we're having our park revamped and revitalized, and consequently this summer it's going to be something like 2,000 young people who will have nothing to do recreation-wise. Being a retired member of the police department and a historical cops and kids person,
Yes.
I know that there could be some programs for the kids through other mechanisms.
Now,
but
remind me,
free-
just help me out. Remind me specifically where you're talking about.
Mariners Harbor.
Mariners Harbor. Okay, let me see.
The big park.
Let me get Michael Kelly to come over, or Bill Chong. Who knows about what we're doing? Is Bill here too? Come on over. We're going to do a little coalition effort here. Hold on a second. I'm going to tell them what they need to work out between them. Come on over, Bill. This is about, while we address it, you talk for a minute. This is about what recreation opportunities we're providing while the park is being worked on. But let her finish. Hold on. Continue. I'm sorry.
And we had a pool. All my kids, all my adopted kids learned to swim there. And
Yep.
with the Olympics,
Which one are you referring to? Which pool?
in Grandview, the Grandview Big Park. We just in Mariners Harbor, we're hoping the pool comes back because the kids need to swim. I don't know what can we do, but we would like to have the pool back. But we most of all, what I'm worried about this summer,
Right.
the kids not getting arrested, the kids having something to do, and I know Debbie doesn't have the money to cart us back
Thank you
and
for
forth.
recognizing that.
Debbie,
this summer, but
although she had it, she would use it. Okay, here we go. Let me get my colleagues
Something
up here.
free.
Hold on a second. Let me get my colleagues up here. So we're going to do a quick round robin. Hold on. Wait for your signal. Eager commissioner. Round robin. So first, let's get the Parks Commissioner, Commissioner Silver, to tell us how long till the park comes back online. Then we're going to go to Commissioner Bill Chong. Youth and Community Development is going to talk about the programs we have for young people, and Michael Kelly, General Manager of NYCHA, what we're doing for young people in that community. In the meantime, start with Mitch Silver on when the park will be fixed.
The park, we actually cut a ribbon on the groundbreaking today. It takes about a year for the construction to take place. This is one of the parks, as Councilmember Debbie Rose said, is part of the Mayor's Community Parks Initiative, and so it should be completed in about a year. After the process, the collective community decided that they preferred not to have the pool, and so it went forward with a new design, including a sprayed shower, and that, again, will be completed in 1 year.
So we have a Cornerstone Community Center there, and for the fourth year in a row, thanks to the support we got from the mayor, we'll be having evening hours 7 days a week. So we're providing expanded services as well as the school year services there as well.
And just to add, the Housing Authority will be working in conjunction as partnerships with our colleagues, particularly with the police department. Something to be noted that under
right here,
Chief Delatorre, that we're actually looking at a lot of stuff, particularly with the youth, on not just on the enforcement side, but working with the young people out there to make sure that we can have productive activities for them.
Yes, so last year we couldn't get full funding for a youth police academy over in the harbor, but we were trying because we heard the call for it. So what we did is the one-to-one, Matt Harrington actually begged, borrowed, and borrowed a little more, and along with school safety, we did start a youth police academy run by the one-to-one precinct in Port Richmond High School. So those were for the Mariners Harbor kids and the Port Richmond area kids. That was very successful last summer. We're going to do it again this summer, and we're going to try to build on it and take in more kids. And I think Matt can mention very quickly about some of the other things he's doing with the kids over there, including when he lets them beat him in basketball. Go ahead.
They got lucky. Last summer, Chief Delatorre, and ever since the one-to-one precinct opened in 2013, there's been a call for the community for more things for these kids to do. So Chief Delatorre has pushed the Youth Police Academy throughout the island, and we were finally get Port Richmond High School to give us 50 spots for kids with a bunch of cops. They did a lot of day trips to museums, the zoo, the Bronx Zoo, and a couple of other things they did with the funding from the Police Foundation. We also play weekly with the Mariners Harbor kids, some basketball games. We just played with the West Brighton and Mariners Harbor kid today, some football. We've been doing outreach with the Holland Avenue section. We're trying to get the rock wall there Monday. So we are definitely trying to reach out to the youth, and we're going to continue to do so because they do need to be engaged and with the police.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Gonzalo Mercado, Executive Director of La Colmena Community Job Center. We're an immigrant resource center working with people that basically make Staten Island look pretty. Day laborers, domestic workers, lawn services, pool cleaners, and we're very concerned, as you know, for the immigrant community in general. This is not just people who are undocumented, people who are green card holders, people who have visas, and all of the
Okay, what's your
statuses.
question?
My question is, one, we have a lack of immigration legal services on Staten Island. We have a huge backlog where people cannot see an attorney on time.
So again,
and the second one...
111. What you asked the question is your number one question. What's your number one question?
Well, actually, my number one question is low-level violations or arrest that are ending in deportation proceedings for people who have not even gotten convicted yet. And then they end up on the loop of immigration. So we're very concerned about that, too.
Look, I will speak to this issue, and I don't know. Is our Office of Immigrant Affairs here? I don't know if anyone's here from Immigrant Affairs. Okay, I will speak to the broader point. Look, again, we got. This is a very real issue. Tremendous amount of fear has been created. I'm sure you know from your work that some of the fear is based on real actual things that happen, and some is based on rumor and just the fact that fear feeds upon itself. Right now, we have provided a lot of support to immigrants who need help, and the City Council has as well. But on this point, it keeps coming back. I've answered this question. This is not directed to you personally. I'm saying I've been asked it over and over again by the media and town hall meetings. I'm going to give the same exact answer. We believe in neighborhood policing, we believe in quality of life policing. We're just not going to stop doing that. We believe it's what keeps us safe. Now, the vast majority of immigrants, including, obviously, permanent resident green card holders and undocumented people, the vast majority do nothing wrong, don't break any law at all. And then to the extent any people do, like the general population, most people of all walks of life, if they break the law, it's a minor thing. Those minor things, those quality of life offenses, people get a summons for. They do not get arrested. They do not get fingerprinted. It's a period. To get arrested, you have to do a more major crime, or you have to have several different crimes combined, or an outstanding warrant, something like that. And then, yes, when someone is arrested, they're fingerprinted. That is accessible to the federal government. But I also want to remind you, and you, I'm sure, know some of this history, the federal government cannot do what local police can do, and we've made very clear that our local police are not going to participate in deportation, but for the crimes that we regard as serious and violent, and we have 170 crimes in that category. That's a matter of city law. When someone commits one of those 170 serious or violent crimes and is convicted, we will turn them over to ICE, period. But if someone does a typical quality of life thing, they litter, they're in the park too late at night, go down the list of classic quality of life crimes, not only are they not going to get arrested to begin with, they're going to get summons, but there's no way for ICE to have access to that information, and we're not giving it to them. ICE, as you know, can go do what it wants to do separately. We cannot stop that. We cannot control that. That was true in the previous administration as well. As much as I respect President Obama, there was plenty of ICE activity in his administration. But we have decided firmly that we won't ask people documentation status, that we will not participate with ICE, except for those 170 categories. But that's not going to change how we police our city. We're still doing quality of life enforcement. That is a given.
Good evening, Mayor Bill de Blasio. How are you? My name is Helen Settles, and I'm a senior citizen. And on whether people think it or not, but I am. Okay. And recently, while I was out of town, my house was robbed, broken into. And next door to me is another senior citizen. Next door to me is another senior citizen. My question to you is that what is the process, the procedure? Because right between my home and the 4 seniors that live on the other side of me, there is complete darkness. There is no light. So my home, because fortunately I had an alarm system, which alerted my neighbors, which called 911 and the whole bit.
Okay, so you want a
I want to
street
know,
lamp.
yeah, what is the procedure of getting a street lamp, because they can come and look at
I
the
got
situation
you. I got you.
on Targee Street.
Thank
Yes.
you, Helen.
Thank you.
I've known Helen since 1989, almost 30 years. I don't think you're a senior citizen. I don't see how it could be possible. But, okay, so, Polly, let's describe how, if there's a place that doesn't have a street lamp and may need it, how we evaluate that. And I've known Helen for 30 years, by the way.
We'll come get the location. We'll have our lighting engineers come out and check the light levels and see what we can do.
Okay,
Well,
but we're
I'll
going to
grab
come
you
down.
afterwards,
So
and we'll get the
how soon can we have someone go look at it?
right away.
That's right away. I like that. They're coming to you. Take a look.
All right. Good. Yes. Tammy.
Hello. Right here. My name is Allison DeLuca, and I'm actually the current Miss Staten Island 2017.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. You were talking earlier about Thrive NYC, which is a program that I'm very happy with because I am a mental health advocate. But one thing about it is you talk about providing free mental health first aid, but unfortunately I don't see that we've been having any of those kinds of courses in Staten Island. Is there any way to get a free mental health first aid course here on the island so that
Sure.
islanders can be taught the skills necessary to recognize mental illness, especially with addiction, which is a serious mental illness so prominent in our society?
Thank you. I appreciate that you have devoted yourself to mental health. Now, I'm looking at Dr. Blasio, and maybe someone is from one of the pertinent agencies here. In terms of the mental health first aid, my memory is it's enough for 250,000 people over time. So we absolutely will have it available on Staten Island, but I don't know what we've done to date. Anyone from one of the agencies know that? Gary Belkin, there you are. I forgot you were here. Dr. Belkin, come on over. You're hiding in the back. This is Dr. Gary Belkin, who is the top mental health official at the Department of Health and one of the folks who had a huge impact on the Thrive plan, and we thank you for being one of the great thinkers behind it. So, do you have a sense of how much mental health first aid we have done and we can do, and let's get going with it? Go ahead.
I can't tell you offhand how many trainings we've done on Staten Island. We've done them in all the boroughs, and we actually keep a zip code-based map with targets to reach every part of the city as we do roll out those 250,000 trainings. But after this meeting, we're happy to go anywhere and make a free training available, so just let me know. You can also go on our website, nyc.gov/thrivenyc, and anyone can sign up for a free training.
Okay, hold on. Wait, Gary, give me my microphone. Took my microphone. Okay. Let me see if I got this right. Excuse me one second. Okay. You asked the question, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at you. You asked the question previously about the walkway and the access. And I made a mistake. I called on the wrong person, the innocent James Katz. I'm sorry. I put you on the spot there. I thought it was EDC. It's actually Department of Buildings. My apologies. So we went back on this with Department of Buildings. And you are obviously right. There is not a walkway now, but there has to be a walkway. So we have made clear to the developer our understanding. The developer has said it will be built, and we will hold the developer to that commitment. Thank you.
Okay.
So grab me afterwards. Yep.
I'm going to be brief. My name is Tammy Greer-Brown. I'm the youth advisor for the NAACP here on Staten Island, also the Education Committee chair. And I'm also, I wear many hats, I'm also part of a group called Moms of Black Boys United, which is an organization nationwide where we actually work to protect our boys from police brutality or any type of interaction that may be negative. And I'm so proud to say that we had a great meeting with some of you earlier this week. Our goal is to create better police relations. And I wanted to know, and I have kids here who met with your representative, Amoy,
about some of their concerns as students of color here on Staten Island, and I'm hoping they get to ask their questions. What are you doing to keep black and brown students safe inside the classroom and outside of the classroom? Because that's something that's very, very concerning for us, especially in the climate.
Thank you. I think, look, I think that the reality that we had to address, hold on, I'm going to look over there. Sorry, John. There you go. Thank you. The reality we had to address was to create a new kind of trust between police and community. And I understand why that takes time, but I believe over these last 3 years, we've seen real evidence of a change. I'm glad you had a very positive meeting. I know that the leadership here is devoted to changing the reality so that there is growing trust and communication. That's what neighborhood policing is all about. It literally comes down to people knowing each other. It's a very different reality when it's not like people playing roles in a drama, but they're actually human beings who know each other and build a personal relationship. That's the whole core concept of neighborhood policing. I believe that is the core answer to your question. We keep our young people of color safe by creating, first of all, everything else we talked about earlier, all the opportunity, all the things that help them be on a positive path, but also changing the relationship between young people and the police. And it's working. The police have proven time and time again that they are bringing down crime and protecting our young people from crime, but doing it in a manner that is building mutual respect. And I think young people are recognizing that more and more. It will not be perfect, it will not happen overnight. But, you know, I think this was a matter of the elemental things. Having a police force that looks like New York City, which we have more and more. Training our police officers in how to work more closely with communities, in how to de-escalate potential conflicts. And that is a lot of the training that Commissioner Bratton installed and Commissioner O'Neill has deepened. And we have seen, I met with Commissioner O'Neill at Borough Hall earlier today, and the number of situations that escalate has been reducing. The number of civilian complaints has been reduced. The number of times that officers use force has been reduced. The number of gun discharges by officers is at an all-time low. So a lot is changing. But what I would like to encourage, and I thank you for your involvement, I want to encourage young people to feel they can build a relationship with the officers that patrol their neighborhood. Because whatever the past was is past. We are creating a new reality here.
Okay.
I got you. Hold on. We got to keep moving around. Thank you. Keep going.
Only one question.
Keep going.
Only one.
We'll be back.
So.
Hi, Mayor.
Hello.
Thank you for coming to Staten Island.
You're welcome.
You know me as a community activist in the Bronx, but I'm speaking you to here as...
But you will go anywhere to get your point across.
No, I live in Mariners Harbor.
Okay.
Yo soy colombiana. My husband is Antiguan, and he wanted a backyard with fruit trees. So he bought in Mariners Harbor, and his brother lives in Stapleton, so he moved. But I am actually... my children go to PS 44. It's a 10% attainment rate, and it's been that way for years. But in the last few years, it's become a violent school to the point where I took my 4th grader out because he's a black boy, and he shouldn't feel like he has to fight in school. It's a dangerous thing for a 10-year-old's mentality. But now I got a 1st grader who comes home with kicks, and I get pictures from parents of bites. I want to know, this is my question, can we create a system that forces schools to notify parents when something violent happens in their classroom? Because I didn't even know until my principal got sick and everything went crazy.
Yep.
I didn't even know all of this was happening.
Okay, I want the Deputy Chancellor to come up. And also, Chief, is someone here from school safety? Oh, we have school safety come up. So we got 2 points here. I'm going to put the points together so we can answer them. So I want the Deputy Chancellor to speak to the point of our obligation to communicate with parents if there is any situation in school. So you speak to how that is supposed to go and how we're going to make sure it works even though there was a disruption in leadership at the school. And then our colleagues from school safety, I'd like them to address what you regard the situation at PS 44 to be and what we're doing to try and improve it. Go ahead, Deputy Chancellor.
Thank you for your question. I would definitely follow up specifically on 44, but our schools do have an obligation to notify parents. I understand that you haven't heard, and I believe you, and we will follow up on that because protocols are in place that if anything should happen to any child in the school.
So
that
just say that. I want you to say, I'm just going to put a point on that. Hold on, listen to what she's saying. What's supposed to happen? Because if it doesn't happen, it's our obligation to fix it. So a situation like that, what is the school supposed to do?
You should call the superintendent to make sure.
What should the school do if such an incident occurs in the school? What is their obligation
notify
to the parent?
The school's supposed to, every school is supposed to notify the parent if anything should happen to their child because we're responsible for children and we take it very seriously. If that's not happening, we need to know.
Okay, so I want
we'll
to
fix that.
we're not doing back and forth. I'm going to be your advocate. So what I'd like to do at the end, I want you two to get together because even if the principal is sick, then an assistant principal, someone should have been responsible for that notification. So we need the information you have to go back and figure out what we have to deal with because that should have happened. Now, school safety, tell us what's going on there and what you can do about it.
Good evening. Eric Johnson, the Commanding Officer of School Safety, Staten Island. So we work directly with John Grassadoni, who's the Borough Safety Director, and if there are lower level incidents such as fighting, things like that, that's dealt with administratively with the school. But we have a safety meeting every month where we go over everything that's happening and ways to fix.
Okay, but speak to this. What are we doing just to reinforce safety at PS 44?
Well, PS 44 is one of the few schools on the island that have two school safety agents assigned. So.
No.
Okay, so then the Deputy Chancellor will follow up with you. Hold on.
I am very much aware, and we're going to follow up at the end of this. But definitely, I understand there's guidance counselors there, there are teachers there, there's a principal who's versed in special education. So I know it's not happening, and I believe you, but we will correct it, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you.
Thank you, Mayor, for being here, and Councilwoman Debbie Rose, and Borough President James Hardo, and our dear police commanders.
Get to your question, my friend.
Oh, okay. I just want you to explore the possibility of making Staten Island as a great tourist potential. As a first step, I would like you to increase the funding for all the historical, cultural, and the legacies we have. Alice Austin House, Richmond Historic Town, and we have Snug Harbor. And Staten Island is the oldest cricket ground in U.S. cricket in U.S. Okay. So we have all the legacies. And the tourists who are coming to...
Okay, wait. We're getting long into the meeting, and there's a lot of people want to go. So you're asking, can we increase funding to the cultural institutions and historic houses?
And also,
that's it.
The first step with the fellas...
Hold on, everyone gets their one. Right. I'm going to be tough cop here. Everyone gets their one. Okay, so we're going to look at that in the budget process, which is culminating in these next weeks. Obviously, we're going to be listening to the council member a lot, too. We have increased funding over time to cultural institutions, both for their programming and their physical needs. But again, this is a budget where I'm a little concerned, or a lot concerned, because I don't know what's happening with the Washington federal funding in general. So I'm going to be a little cautious because of that. But I do get your point.
And I want to say City Council and the Borough President have been very supportive of our culturals here at budget time. And so it's a conversation, I'm sure, that's happening in the Borough President's office as it is in mine.
Okay, so I'm just going to make one other programming note as this gentleman stands up that I want everyone, please, you don't have to compliment us. It's very nice, but you don't have to. You don't have to recognize us. You don't have to give us the history of the issue. We want to get to as many people as possible. Just ask us what's on your mind.
Would you be open to a meeting for community input on the location of the indoor pool?
See, look at that man. He asked his question, one sentence. Damn, that was good. I really like that question. Yeah, of course I'm going to answer yes. See, I mean, he gave me such a good question. Yes. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, now that you got the opportunity to meet us in a little more intimate way, my very direct question, if you get elected, what are your top 3 priorities for Staten Island?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I'm glad we got to meet in a more intimate way. Thank you. There you go. So I would say I'm not saying this to speechify. I would say it's the same for the other boroughs too, honestly. So one is deepen safety, continue to reduce crime and the number of people arrested, the whole 9 yards, and just continue to deepen the neighborhood policing vision. And I think Chief Della Torre and his colleagues are doing an amazing job of that. So we want to go a lot farther. 2 is you've heard some of these issues about schools, which pains me because we all know that some schools were left in a situation where they weren't going to succeed. So that's why this equity and excellence vision is about literally creating the day where you don't have to look at one school and say that's a great school and then a mile away is a school you'd never want to send your kid to. Like, we have to create equity across the system, but not by dumbing everything down, by bringing everything up. That is about number 1 priority would be getting our kids reading on grade level by 3rd grade, period. Like, all our kids. That is one of my number 1 priorities if the people choose me again. And then the 3rd would be on affordability in every sense, greatly increasing the amount of affordable housing for every kind of person. For middle-class people, working-class people, people with lower incomes, we need every kind of affordable housing. And our plan is for 500,000 people. But the other piece I mentioned earlier, we've come to the conclusion that even with affordable housing, people can't afford to live here. So it's the increasing the high-quality, good-paying jobs. And Staten Island, this I can say this, Staten Island specific, and I bet this gentleman will agree with me and a council member will agree with me. I want to see a real growth of tech and film and TV on Staten Island so there's more of the good-paying jobs right here. We're coming around, we're coming around, we're coming around.
Good evening. A very simple question. On Brook Street, we have the sanitation garage.
What's behind you?
It's filthy. Environmentally speaking, it's not good for people's health. When will that garage leave?
That's a very direct question. I like it. So the Sanitation Commissioner will speak to the timeline.
So after a lot of advocacy from your councilwoman, the Jersey Street garage will be relocated to Fresh Kills. The design for that new building should register this year, and then it will be about probably till 2024 before construction is complete. Yeah, I mean, we'll move it as quickly as possible, but that's the procurement and design process.
So that is the honest answer. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to try and go faster. But the fact is it's moving, and that's what it'll take to be complete. To be complete.
Okay.
Good evening to the mayor and to Debbie and to everyone in the room.
Just ask the question. You're very polite, but ask the question.
Well, thank you. I am the executive director of the Sandy Ground Historical Society, and I thank you for being flexible enough to listen not only to Debbie, but to all the people in the room who signed the petitions to say that we wanted to have the boat named.
And thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. And I just want to say that your staff was out at the museum today. They filmed for 2 hours, and they promised me that they were going to put the story of Sandy Ground on your social media.
Absolutely.
So I'll be looking for it. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
a pleasure.
All right, I'll get right to it. I don't think you need the background. Homelessness is a serious issue in the city. So my question for you is past simply finding housing for these people, what is your plan to get them off city assistance, allow them to live in their own housing in the future? Thank you.
Excellent question. Thank you. What we are finding, more and more people homeless are working right now or have recently been employed. It is not the homelessness of a decade or two ago, which was largely mental health and other problems. So we're trying to keep people from not becoming homeless to begin with. That is by providing a rental subsidy that will help people stay in place, or legal assistance that will help avoid an eviction. And then if people do go into shelter, we are continuing to build affordable housing options to get them back out. But I think what I mentioned earlier, since this is more and more an economic problem, it is really ultimately about job creation and quality job creation and helping more people access that. Because if so many people I've spoken to who are homeless, if their paycheck were a little bigger, they would stay in their home. So that's the plan, is more focus on employment.
Hi, my name is Pearl Minsky. Are you still so determined to bring more bicycle paths to Staten Island when the ones that are here already are rarely used? Our streets are terribly crowded. We have more traffic than anywhere else. And inevitably, there are going to be accidents between the bicycles and the cars. The streets are very narrow, and there's no room.
Okay. Polly Trottenberg will come up and join me, but I want to be clear. I want to be clear what I think, but I am not rigid ever. Okay. So, and Polly can help describe the philosophy behind what we're doing. Because it's not just about, I mean, obviously we build a bike lane, we want people to use their bike, and that means they're not in a car and all those good things. But you're right, if no one uses it, that becomes an issue. You don't know that the first year or the second year. It's something that it takes time to see if people are going to end up using it. That's been true all over the city. Maybe in the beginning you don't get a lot of use, later you might get a lot of use. It also helps calm traffic. So I want Polly to explain why that is, because not only is she our transportation commissioner, before that she was the Undersecretary of Transportation for the United States of America, so she has a really good sense of this issue. But I want to say for everyone to hear, if something does not work as planned, then sometimes they say, wait a minute, that was a great idea, but it didn't work that way. So if no one ever uses it, for example, then we're going to reassess it. But you can't do that like the first year. You have to give it time to see if it's something that works. So why don't you help explain how we choose the location, but let's do the short version, how we choose the location, how we sense if the usage is sufficient, and how it also helps to calm traffic.
Sure, and when we do bike lanes, and look, we have been doing a few in Staten Island. It's not the part of the city where we're building a vast bike network, but we work very closely with community boards and local civic associations, and we put them in places where we get local support. And I think what the mayor is saying is true, which is it has, you have to kind of build a bit of a network to start to get good ridership. And if you don't, it becomes a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And one of the things I certainly hear in my travels on Staten Island and talking to Staten Islanders is a craving that people want to get out of their cars sometime, that they want to find other ways to travel. All right, see, some people are with me on that one. So, well, look, we certainly recognize the roads here are congested, and there's always going to be a lively debate about how we allocate the space. We try very carefully when we put bike lanes in to be thoughtful about the traffic engineering, not to slow cars down. And we have found throughout the city that when you put bike lanes in, you actually make the roadway safer for everybody, for cyclists, for pedestrians, and for motorists. So that's what we try and do. But as the mayor said, we always come back and look at our work, and we make adjustments as needed.
Okay.
Sure, would be happy to do that. Sure.
Did you raise your hand?
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Ahmed. I represent the Sierra Leone community here in New York, and I'm also part of the African community here on Staten Island. You spoke of public safety.
Wait, you got to get to the question.
That's the question. Public safety.
I support public safety.
Yes, and how can you... Mr. Mayor, how can you and the police? How can you and the police necessitate a way that people who are linguistically challenged, like the African people who the police go to, they don't even understand their rights, and they don't know what the police are, and they feel very intimidated.
Okay, I got it loud and clear. And this is a city issue everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We are the most diverse city on the earth. Every language of the earth is spoken here, literally. And we have to make sure there's communication between police and community. And it's tough if you're not in a situation where there happens to be an officer on the scene who speaks that language. Now, we just graduated a class where I think it was 40 or 50 languages were spoken in the new class of police officers, so that's happening more and more. But Chief or whoever in your team, talk about if you have a situation where someone speaks a language that is not readily available in the precinct, how you go about getting a translator on the line to help address the situation.
So with the new phones that we're giving out to all the police officers over the last year and a half now, every officer has their own department-issued phone. We actually have an app on here called Language Line. So it's the best thing we're going to do to be actually speak your language, but we can tap into the line and get a translator that will help us communicate with anybody, any members of the public.
What language was your native language?
West African Creole. It's different from the one in
No,
Louisiana.
that, of course. It's a long way from Louisiana.
Yeah.
So the language is, you say, is West African Creole? Okay. You want your people to check right now to see if you have that one available.
Yep. I'm going to give it to somebody else because I use a BlackBerry.
Truth in advertising. Okay, the team's working on that. We'll get another question. We'll come back. Where else?
Okay.
Go ahead, Deb.
You've been waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. You got it wide?
You with the sling.
You'll laugh, you'll cry. Okay.
Me?
No, me.
Me. With the sling.
Hey,
The young
hey,
man,
hey, wait.
The young man
Wait,
with the
wait.
sling is who I pointed to.
Now, we'll get to both of you. Go ahead. There's an easy answer. Each one ask a question. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I am undocumented, but I'm not a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
I got to New York about 3 years ago. I went through HHA classes.
Okay, I need your question.
The question is, I don't want to get married to any man, but any agency I go to, they ask for my work permit. What can you do to help me?
We will have, and again, I don't think anyone is here from Immigrant Affairs, but we can follow up afterwards. So Steve Banks right there. Ma'am, take a look. He's going to, why don't you go over now, Steve? Steve, you can go connect with her right away. That's our Commissioner for Social Services. He is going to help you. Okay.
All right. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm a card-holding member of local union number 3.
Amen.
I don't know if anybody is aware, but we're currently on strike against Charter Spectrum Cable. And just a couple of things that they're in violation of franchise agreements that they have with New York City.
Yep.
That they're hiring outside contractors and non-union personnel to do work within the 5 boroughs. And we were just wondering, what is the city going to do, or the city, the state, or to help us out?
We've been in touch. Your local 3 IBW. Okay. I don't have my glasses on, but if I could see that, I would. There you go. We've been in touch with your president, Chris Erickson, and we made clear, I'm not tolerant of companies that don't treat their labor unions well. And you're right, that any company that does business with the city of New York, we take a very strong interest in how they treat their workers. So we've made very clear to the union that if we can assist in resolving this matter in a way that's equitable to the working men and women of that company, we're ready to do it. Say again? Same point, though, I'm saying. We have made clear anything that we think is unfair to working people, including unfair labor practices, is a problem for us, and we will get involved in any way that would be helpful to fix that problem. Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Suzuka, I-61 teacher. Woo! I not only teach there, I attended I-61. I'll get to the point quickly. I wanted to know that despite knowing that the state tests are developmentally inappropriate, being several years above a student's reading level, why does the city still kind of have teachers on a gag order where other districts in New York State, especially Long Island, are opting their kids out to the tune of like 82%. And New York City teachers, me being one of them, I know I can't speak about it, except right here, but I have to shut my mouth or else. And everyone knows about the fear and retaliation in schools, especially in the DOE as a public education teacher. So why is it that all of New York City is under basically an unspoken gag order against these tests that are siphoning hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year?
Okay.
Look, I'm going to...
Thank you.
I first of all, I appreciate your passion, and thank you for the work you do. I don't know if I agree with your interpretation. I'm sure it's sincere, but I don't think I agree with it. I want to get away from high-stakes testing, and we, as you've noticed, have done a number of things to do that. We stopped the grading of schools, and we have changed the approach to admissions, and obviously at the state level, teacher evaluation has changed, et cetera, et cetera. But, well, I'm going to give you my view. You don't have to agree with it, but I'm going to give you my view. But I do think it is a fair point that you can, in any place like this and throughout your life outside of school, you can voice your opinions like anyone else. If you're an employee of an organization has a policy, when you're at work applying the policy, I do think it's a fair point that people have to be really careful, because think of what it would lead to if everyone had a difference with every policy and was speaking out in the middle of their work all the time. Nothing would get done. So we believe that there is a danger if people opt out. There's a danger to federal funding, and it's something we're concerned about. But we don't believe in continuing the mistakes of the past on high-stakes testing, and we're continuing to reduce the reliance. Now, to the question, the developmental question, which is a perfectly fair question, Dorita, I want you to speak to that, because actually it's the first time I've heard that particular charge made that the tests are developmentally over the appropriate level.
The test is different, and we've known that for 3 years, and I agree with that. But we've taken away a lot of the stress, hopefully, and that's, I know how you feel, and now there's a huge movement about Common Core and the problem with that. But we're using tests differently. We're not using it as a punitive measure. We're not using it to retain children. We're not. You cannot use test scores to retain children anymore. For the last 2 years, we no longer do that. The test, we don't, and we don't look at that. And so I understand your frustration, and we can talk more about it. We don't use it to assess teachers anymore. We're not. It's on hold. It's on hold. But we're trying to make a big change in terms of looking where children fall. There needs to be a baseline. But at the same time, you know, children will take tests in their life. But we don't want this to be something that they're going to harbor and for them to be stressing over. And we don't want that. And what we've asked teachers to do and principals to do is really say to children, this is not going to be the end of their life. This is going to be an assessment of a grade, and we really want them to do the best that they can do. The test is shorter. The questions are shorter. They've given an unlimited amount of time that they can take the test. But we've made some changes, and we've heard what parents are saying. So, you know, bear with us. I know it's not perfect. It's better than it was 3 years ago, and we're still working to make sure that children are not held accountable.
Thank you.
No, the lady behind you.
I'm so excited. Good evening. I'm a guidance counselor, and I work with at-risk kids. I'd like to have the opportunity to meet with you, Debbie Rose, Ms. Margie, and the school chancellor. I want to discuss opening up alternative school for at-risk over-age middle school students, high school students on the North Shore, and also to offer.
Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that. You're good. The deputy chancellor will see you afterwards. I don't know what the options are, but if you have a proposal of what would be helpful, she's going to come see you right after.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Heading back this way. Heading back this way. One of the young people, okay? And ask a question.
Just ask your question.
Just ask the question?
Just ask the question like everyone else is doing.
Or else.
Okay. Wait, I can't say anything else?
Ask the question.
Oh, okay. I need to, my name's Kiara Brown. I go to Curtis High School. A large portion of the people at Curtis High School are LGBT, and I need to know, for the sake of their safety, are they going to be protected inside the school regarding bathroom rights and access to like mental health, like stuff like dysphoria and all that stuff?
Appreciate that question very much. So, absolutely, we've made very clear what the vision of this city is in terms of defending bathroom rights and each person identifying as they see fit. We've been very clear that that's something we're going to be adamant about, and that in terms of protection overall, we want the schools to be a nurturing environment. We want people to feel safe. We want to fight. If we see any bullying or anything, it's the obligation of school safety and school leadership to intervene and address that. And you asked one other thing. I'm sorry. You said
Like
mental health services.
Yeah.
So what the Thrive NYC initiative that my wife created, one of the focal points was making sure that every school had access to mental health services, meaning that the principals and the teachers had mental health professionals they could turn to. And if we needed to send in mental health professionals to deal with any situation where there was extra help needed, we have teams that can go into a school. So even a few years ago, a principal even, if they had a child with a mental health problem, they didn't necessarily have anywhere to turn. Now there are teams designated from Department of Health that can go into schools anytime that help is needed.
Okay, the lady right here.
Hi. There's a young man earlier who talked about busing and getting summons. And I would like to know, is there anything you can do? Because you answered a lot of his questions, but not the question about the summons, because the teenagers don't have money on them to get on the bus. And I'll tell you an example. There was a basketball game at Wagner College, and at the end of the game that night, there were tons of police officers there, and they were on the bus where the kids would get in and ask them. Unfortunately, my son was one of them, and asked all of these kids to leave.
Ask your
And
question.
I would like to know, if the police is really supposed to enforce and protect our children, why would they do that? Not understanding that it's a bunch of teenagers that are trying to get home.
Yeah, look, I fully get.
Oh, sorry.
I fully get there are exceptional situations, and we believe that, and Chief can affirm this, one of the things we're doing now that is different from a few years ago is giving our officers discretion to look at a situation. They're trained now to exercise their own personal discretion, professional discretion. If they see a situation, they can make a judgment whether to be a little more flexible. But I want to be really clear. I'm sympathetic. I have still one teenager, and the other one just was a teenager not long ago. I understand teenagers really well, and they have interesting ways of making decisions along the way. But in the end, we're not going to send a signal it's okay for people to get on a bus and not pay. We just can't do that. We have to create some consistency. I'm sorry. Listen to what I'm saying overall. I'm trying to be straightforward. 8.5 million people. If we send a message that some people can just get on a bus anytime they want for free, that creates, I think, chaos. It has to be, if you get on the bus, you pay for the bus. Now, if there's an exceptional situation, an officer can look at that and exercise their discretion. But I hate to give people an answer that's the answer they want, but not the real answer. We have to enforce the fact that people got to pay for their bus ride.
Hello. Okay, I just have one transportation planning question. With all the new development happening across the North Shore, are there any plans to reopen any of the Staten Island Railway, specifically from Port Ivory to St. George Ferry?
There is not a plan, but we understand fully that there is a challenge. There's already a lack of transportation options. There's real concern about congestion as there's more development, and obviously mass transit is a good way to address congestion. We're not missing that there's a problem here. We're trying to figure out a solution that we can actually afford, and so far we haven't been able to find one, is the honest truth. But we're going to work with the council member, we're going to work with the borough president. It's on the radar, as this is a place that definitely needs more mass transit options, so that will keep on the agenda.
Reverend.
I'm Reverend Faith Tagba, member of the Liberian Community Association and also Make the Road. Given the high number of unregulated apartments on Staten Island, what will you do to protect the most vulnerable tenants? What specific policies will you put in place?
Look, for anybody any tenant, we are trying to make sure that if anything's being done that's unfair to them, that they get support. So that's why we've been deepening access to legal services for tenants. And the City Council has been very, very aggressive on this point, making sure we had access to counsel. Now, obviously where we have, I'm looking at Steve Banks to come over, we have the greatest ability to have an impact where it's rent-regulated housing. So you said unregulated specifically. So Steve, help us understand what we can do to help someone if, for example, they're being evicted from unregulated housing, but there might be other circumstances that we think allow us to bring in legal help or one to another. What can we do to help someone in that situation?
Sure. Just to amplify what the mayor said, the mayor, with the partnership with the council, has put in place a plan to provide universal access to counsel in eviction proceedings. And even in unregulated housing, there are reasons why a landlord could not put you out. So by way of example, if you complain about conditions, the landlord can't retaliate by trying to evict you. So one of the benefits of having access to counsel is that the lawyers can analyze these kinds of things.
I want to restate that to make sure people heard it. If you complain about conditions, the landlord cannot evict you for that reason.
Correct. So if you file a complaint with HPD about your conditions, just a little example, and if landlord tries to evict you within the next 6 months of you filing that complaint with HPD, the presumption is that it's retaliation for filing the complaint. So that's one of the powerful things about making counsel available, that lawyers from legal services here in Staten Island Legal Aid and also CAMBA are available in much greater numbers than ever before in Staten Island.
Mr. Mayor, welcome. My name is Minnie Graham, and I am the executive director of an organization located in the Park Hill, which is Clifton Concord section of Staten Island. We are not NYCHA. So I'm just asking you to take a look at Park Hill, the needs of that community. It's a highly congested community. We have 15 multi-dwellings that are subsidized.
Turn into a question.
So please take a look at Park Hill.
Okay.
Because we're not NYCHA.
I hear you.
So NYCHA gets a lot of services and things that we don't get because we're not NYCHA. So I'm asking you to give Park Hill special attention. And our council member has been working for us for a long time. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Mayor de Blasio. We met once before at 9/11 Memorial, and we did, the question I'm going to ask, we did touch base on this that night.
Yeah.
Living in St. George right now, with all the development that's going on, it's getting hard to live there. Like, certain prices are going up on rent and stores, and now right now I know like rent has been frozen for like the past 2 years. There's no percentage that's going up. Will it stay like that? Only because also I do work in film and television, and I have not worked in my field for over a month right now, because even though there are positions, there are films coming in, not enough positions available.
Right.
So it's been kind of
Ask
hard,
your
and I'm getting
question.
afraid
Yep.
to.
I got it.
We can't live there. Can I work at the mayor's office of film?
Hey, that's good. I like it. You're entrepreneurial.
I'm a little nervous right now, but
no, we will. I will certainly make sure our people follow up and connect you to that office to see if there's anything available there. But on your question, look, you're in rent-regulated housing. Did you get the rent freeze? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Right. We had a rent freeze the last 2 years for rent-regulated housing, and that was something our Rent Guidelines Board did. They make the decision each year based on the facts, based on the expenses that landlords have, et cetera. So there's no decision in advance. Each year is different. But I know that for the last couple of years, it has been very, very helpful to a lot of people, obviously, who are stressed and trying to make ends meet. But to the point you made as someone, in that industry, the growth of the industry the last few years was amazing. We want to keep it growing, and we want to get it deep into all 5 boroughs. And this is a very strategic point. This is an industry that pays, by and large, pretty well. And we've seen rapid growth, film and TV both. Our job is to keep that coming. So people like you, yeah, I know sometimes it'll be a month or two, whatever, where there's not a job, but the more business we bring in, the more chance that you're going to have that job. So that's what we're devoted to doing. Thank you.
Right there, on the end, right there, pink. Pat. Pat.
There you go.
Right there.
Back.
Hi, my name is Patricia Willis. I'm with Friends of Frederick Douglass Memorial Park. I know technically there's nothing you can do because this is a state problem with us. This is the pretty much only black cemetery started by black entrepreneurs. All 5 boroughs are buried there. Historical, famous people are buried there. Negro League baseball players, all of that. I just want you to come by and take a look and see what the state is not doing for your New York City citizens.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't do that on this visit, but I will do it on an upcoming visit.
You can send somebody.
I'll send somebody in the meantime.
Okay,
thank you.
Greetings, Mr. Mayor. With regard to our North Shore development surge, we're fast-tracked and in full steam ahead mode with outlet shops, a Ferris wheel, hotel restaurants, an existing ball field, lighthouse museum, and a huge commuter hub. I'd like to know, despite 10 years of voluminous reports, impact statements, feasibility studies, urban design studies, civic and community board meetings, and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent to launch these hot air studies, as an islander, in my humble opinion.
What is the question?
Do you view this project unfolding as being successful so far? And if not, what are you going to do to change the course? Because I view that whole area as a real bottleneck.
I got it. I got it. I've spent a week hearing a number of views that have educated me. I'm going to start, and then Debbie, you may want to offer your comments, and the incredibly patient Jimmy Otto may want to say a few things. I've been amazed. You've been on the bench the whole time, nice and quiet. It's very impressive. So, look, I think I'm just going to back up and take the big picture view of this for a second. I think it's a very, very fair question. I think we have a conundrum in New York City, the whole city. There is a deep concern in neighborhoods about congestion, gentrification, rising costs of housing, living, etc. And we're at a fork in the road. And there is a strong impulse to sort of, often to say, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but to leave things essentially the way they are. And there's another impulse to develop. What I think was a mistake in the past was to develop without maximizing guarantees for a local community. And so what we've tried to do, I think this is the balance point, is to say, okay, if you don't develop, then you freeze into place market dynamics in many ways. I know it seems a little counterintuitive. You think, well, if big buildings are going up, well, that's what's creating all the pressure. I don't feel that. I feel like the pressure is already naturally happening. As 8.5 million people, we're going to be at 9 million people. No one doubts that. And a place like the North Shore is going to develop under any circumstance. I think if the city government comes in and says, here are some ground rules we believe in. For example, maximizing job creation and opportunities for local residents, creating affordable housing, et cetera. We end up with better development than if the market just took its course. And bluntly, in the previous administration, I think the market was broadly just allowed to take its course without a lot of give back to the community. So just to finish, that's my view. I do think here, and I won't, the council member and the borough president should get into this and speak to their values. I think here there was another consideration that is not true in every neighborhood. I think there was a feeling that Staten Island was missing out on a huge potential for job creation and revenue coming into the borough, and that something like this really could spark something bigger that could be very beneficial. Again, the same point, we have too many people who are still not getting jobs and too many people are not getting good enough jobs, and this could spark something bigger. I think there's validity in that point, but it's to one of the points I made earlier, we have to watch and see if it works that way. We can adjust along the way. We really can. But I think it's a good starting point to see how we can build equitable development. Let my colleagues jump in.
I have to say that with the development of the projects along the waterfront, that we recognized that more than 2 million people were coming to Staten Island, and Staten Island didn't benefit from any of those dollars. And so we were very sensitive to the development and to the communities. And when I spoke about the development and ULURP and the process, I really, looked at how those developments could benefit the upland communities. And I have to say, the developers were very, very instrumental in having conversations with the community, making sure that what we presented to them, that they made agreements to meet us, with those things. There were some things that were difficult to mitigate, and the traffic was one of them. And we tried to put everything in place that we could, and we're still looking at ways to mitigate, the traffic. But out of those deals, I was able to get over $500 million worth of amenities and services for the upland communities. And so I have to say the developers for those projects did try to work with the sensitivities of the community. And sometimes we didn't get exactly what we wanted, but they've been open to discussion. And I know the waterfront access issue is something that we're dealing with, and the promises that were made will be kept.
Now, let me say this, it's approaching 10 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. Wow. You're very civically involved that you don't even know what time it is. Okay, here's what we can do. We can do a lightning round. I've done this before, but it's really lightning round. You get like a sentence to ask your question. I get a sentence to answer. Okay? And we'll try and get as many people as we can.
Okay.
But you gotta be fast. Go. Be fast.
Ask your question.
Be fast. One sentence. Hit it.
I'm Mario Esposito.
What's the sentence?
Please name the ferry boat, next third ferry boat.
I met you the other day. I told you we're going to
Senior.
consider it. We're going to consider it. Thank you.
I'm pointing to you, actually.
Hi.
I met with him the other day. I met with him 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Go ahead.
Hi, I met you at Irby last year. I just want to thank you because
Question. Come on.
I just want to thank you. That's my.
You're just thanking me?
Yes,
That's a
for
beautiful
everything
thing.
you've done for the city.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lightning round.
Okay.
We'll keep coming around.
That's it.
Then we'll keep moving.
Hi, what are you going to do to protect immigrants who are incapacitated at private hospitals such as Rumsey who are facing threats of medical repatriation?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. The honest truth is I don't know enough about that, but Deputy Mayor Blasio will speak to you about that. Thank you.
Okay, come on. You.
See how good they are? Lightning round.
I'm a Staten Island realtor. I need help helping you with the homeless situation and the programs because they're not working on Staten Island.
Okay, good question. We want these programs to work better for realtors. We've tried to make very clear to landlords that we're in this for the long haul, and these are programs that are going to be very good for them. Steve Banks, right there. Will you stand up for a minute, ma'am? Stand up. Steve Banks is going to connect with you about how we can make that work better for you. We'll keep moving.
Right.
Hi. What is the administration doing to try to help specifically combat and help with the homelessness problem in the ferry terminal? It seems some days they're going to kick them out and fine them, and other days they're welcome to come in from the cold.
Thank you. We, Chief has been all over this with his personnel and homeless services. So it's not just during the daytime having the presence to address the issue. We have now folks from homeless services who are doing overnight shifts as well to tell the folks there that they can come in and get services and do not need to be in the ferry terminal. So it's going to be a lot of presence by both PD and by homeless services.
No, it's just.
Who's
okay.
up? Who's up?
Back there.
Oh, don't forget this poor section over here. You missed a section. Come on, give them a chance.
I'm sorry.
There you go. We need a microphone. There it goes.
Can Purcell Street be closed off to through traffic to cure the velocity problem?
I don't know the answer, but our transportation, you don't have to come over, just wave your hand. Transportation Commissioner Holly Trottenberg will see you right after. I don't know the answer to that.
Not promise that. Michelle, lady
Michelle,
in the back.
let's see how fast you can go, Michelle.
Address the back.
Microphone.
Real quick, you said you wanted to know where we could put a center. Goodhue, if you could do the acquisition to make sure that all of Goodhue is part of your phase, then we will have that so that it would be public. It would be a public park for the community.
Okay, and the answer is, hold on, we got to answer it first. Got to answer it first.
Oh, no.
Hold on. As you know, we've already done a lot of acquisition at Goodhue. We are considering more. That's a separate question from how we're going to handle the pool question. We're going to look at a variety of options, and the Goodhue decision will be made not too long from now. Okay, where are you?
The lady in the back.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Ana María González, vengo del
Question.
centro.
Pregunta.
La pregunta es, nosotros quisiéramos tener más servicios migratorios sobre el tema de migración porque toda la comunidad de porrismo está muy alterada y tenemos una lista enorme.
The question is,
we
would like the community to get more services, immigration services. That's, you may know, there's a large demand in the community.
Yes, and that's so our mayor's office for immigrant affairs can provide a lot of help directly, and if people need legal services, we have access to legal services. So the important thing is our folks here will connect and make sure we get the folks from our office to talk to you.
Mayor?
Who's got it?
Sean Stratford, Stratford Funeral Home. Mr. Mayor, will you be doing anything to reopen the Staten Island Medical Examiner's Office? Staten Island Medical Examiner's
I think we have a plan on that, and the answer is not a yes. I think we have a vision on, is Armenia still here, or did she move?
Yep, there.
Yeah.
And
I don't know where she went. I think the answer is no, that we do not have a plan to change our current approach. But let me have the deputy mayor get with you. Will you make sure the deputy mayor connects to him right after?
Good evening. My name is Fumi. I'm a student at Curtis High School.
Question.
And with the diverse population in our school,
Lightning
how
round.
are you making sure that our teachers are culturally competent to deal with the students?
One of the things that we are doing, thank you for asking, a lot of the things we are doing with the teacher training, we're doing more teacher training than ever before, and we're emphasizing those kind of things in the training, cultural competency, anti-bullying, etc. So this is, again, part of how we're trying to evolve all of our public services to be more respectful to people of all backgrounds. Who else? We've got to keep moving around.
Mr. Mayor.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Deb, we got to keep moving that way after this. Okay.
50 years the Verrazano Bridge is going to be, we're going to celebrate the opening.
Right.
But that is too high of a toll for Staten Island residents. It's up to almost $12, $17 to get across. We're the only borough that cannot leave Staten Island without paying.
I got your question. Thank you. As you know, that is the state's responsibility. And I know the people of Staten Island have made their voices heard, and I think that's part of why the state has learned to keep that toll less than what they originally planned. But that's something the state has to control.
Mr. Mayor or Commissioner Silver, I'm one of many small park advocates here on Staten Island. You've given us an undue burden with this insurance issue. What can you do about that?
I'm sorry, insurance issue?
As a volunteer, I could be held personally liable if I'm volunteering in a park, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Okay, that's a quick answer.
Our legal department requires insurance, so if the
How do we address the problem? He's saying that makes it hard for people to be involved. How do we help them?
Right now, we're asking the groups to actually pay a very small amount so that they're covered for insurance for liability purposes if they hold an event and something happens.
Okay, that's... Yeah, I think he's got a good point. So, okay, hold it. We don't have to have a debate. Okay. You've raised a very interesting question. I would like... We're gonna kick this one upstairs. You, me, and Zachary Carter are gonna have a chat about this. Our corporation counsel. I think you're making a very fair point.
Hello.
Let's make sure we follow up. We're about to end here. Lightning round's about to end.
Hello, Mayor de Blasio. My name is
Who's got it? Okay, there you go.
Will
the NYPD used its great power to push out immigration customs enforcement, especially in hospitals, schools, and courthouses, as many people
We
are
have been
afraid.
very clear. I'm going to say, Deb, I'm going to answer this question, but 5 more people of your choice, then we're shutting down. Okay? 5 more. Lightning round after I answer this question.
Okay.
Well, maybe you should spin around, you know.
we're
You're
gonna
ready.
be-
Okay, the answer to the question first. The answer, hold on, guys. Don't go to the next question yet. Hold on.
Wait.
Hold on. The answer to the question. The message that we have sent, and I just mentioned our corporation counsel, Zachary Carter, is the chief lawyer for the city. The message we have sent is that all city property needs to be respected by ICE. And that if any ICE agent shows up, all city property is protected, obviously. They show up at a school, school safety. If they show up at a police precinct, police officers, that there is a protocol. They can't just waltz in. They have to prove to our lawyers they have appropriate documentation, and then even then, there has to be a very specific process for dealing with it. So the message is our property is our property. The federal government doesn't get to come onto our property unless our lawyers approve. Okay, 5 more, here we go.
Thank you. Given that City Bike has not expanded to Staten Island, and there are a lot of largely under-regulated bike-sharing programs that want to come here, what is the city doing proactively to help protect us from those largely unregulated bike share companies?
Okay, we're going to do a quick answer. I'm going to say thank you for the question. And the thing I've felt about City Bike is it's done a great service, but I have consistently wanted to see it do it without public funds. So I understand the challenges we've been trying to expand, but this is interesting. I haven't heard this issue before about other services.
This is a big issue. Thanks, Rose, and something the city is looking at. A lot of these new companies are coming in with a new model of dockless bikes. It's sort of a very fast-moving phenomenon. I'll talk to you more about some of our.
So we need to figure out how to regulate it.
Well, we're thinking about what our approach is going to be.
Good question.
I will talk to you about it,
and
Rose.
thank you for putting it on my mind because I didn't know that. Thank you. Okay, 4 more, Deb. 4 more.
Yeah, right there.
Yes, I would like to know, what are you going to do about the congestion and the overcrowding and the unsafe conditions that sanitation trucks are presenting on Brook Street?
Okay, sanitation trucks on Brook Street. I don't know the situation personally.
This is the Jersey Street garage.
Come on.
This is the same issue. The garage is undersized and under capacity for what the volume of vehicles that we have. We have the annex that is in. We have moved some of the staff to Fresh Kills already. We are building a new garage on Fresh Kills. That site will be closed and given up to D.
What's rough timeline?
It's the 2024.
Okay.
That's when we're done.
Okay, so the question is, hold on. Do we have anything we can do in the meantime to improve the congestion situation?
We have moved about a third of our staff to Fresh Kills already. There, particularly in winter when there are plows on the trucks, there is not enough room.
Okay.
There's not really anything we can do. There will be trucks on the street until we have a new garage.
Yes, but that doesn't mean there isn't still solutions to congestion. So, I'd like you to go. Are you from a community group? Which group? Okay. I'd like you to go, and council member, we're going to sort this out. I'd like you to go meet with folks to see with PD if there are other congestion solutions. I know it's never easy, but let's take a look. That's good. That's why PD should be a part of it too.
Okay, right there. Priscilla?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
you said
free to go.
you said that the funding for the Cromwell Center has to come out of the rezoning money. My understanding is that Cromwell will cost $100 million. In speaking to city planning, they've informed me that there is a limited pool for which to have infrastructure improvements come out of that money. So it doesn't seem fair to have $100,000 come out of the infrastructure monies, which need to happen to benefit a greater number of people who are affected by the rezoning. Can you promise us that it will be done fairly and equitably?
I can promise fair and equitable, but I can't. I'm being very straightforward. We have to look at all the needs of the community. We don't have perfect resources. If we did, I'd be saying yes to every question, right? We obviously have limited resources. We got to make a decision for a community with the community. I think there's tremendous support for doing Cromwell. We're ready to do that, but it has to be in comparison with a bunch of other choices. I just don't have the luxury of saying I can say yes to everything. It's got to be in the context of rezoning to decide what the priorities are of the larger community. We're going to do everything we can to make sure the infrastructure is there for sure for anything we do. But I got to put everything on the table together and make a decision one time. That's no, I don't agree with that statement. No one said that is all the money. Don't judge how much all the money is yet. Yeah, I'm not there, but we are very much willing to invest. So, okay, we got two more.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Where am I looking? There I am.
Right there.
Hi. Can the student
speak up?
Can the student Metro cards be extended past the time that it is now to accommodate students who have events after school? Because what my wife was talking about earlier, it was a basketball game.
Yep.
And it seems to me that it should have been known that there would be a tremendous amount of students, high school students, who would be using their Metro cards to get on the bus. And it was tons of them that were basically
okay, I got you. It's lightning round, my friend. Okay. We got one more after this, Deb. On the question of can student MetroCard times be extended, I don't know which one of you two that is.
I mean, the deal with the student Metro cards is a deal with the MTA where the city contributes some of the cost, and the issue has been
simple,
limiting it to school hours so that it doesn't compete with their rush hour traffic.
Again, my job is to give you an answer whether you like the answer or not. The answer right now is no. It would take a whole new investment if we're going to do that. So right now it's about the school day. We're not ready to make an investment beyond that. That's the honest truth. Last one, Deb.
Last question.
Mr. Mayor, Dylan Schwartz from Bates Harris. My question's about naloxone. With fentanyl popping up more and more in batches of heroin on the streets, it can take 4 to 5 times as much naloxone as a civilian is capable of carrying to save a life.
Question.
Will you support expanding that access
come over here
and
quickly.
increasing the amount of naloxone that a citizen
I want to test the question as the final question of the evening. It's an important one.
Yeah, we are
on dealing with the opioid crisis. This will be the final answer, and then Debbie and I will say our closing comments. So,
yeah, no, we are really upping our
fast
game.
Answer.
We're really upping our game on naloxone. We're aware of the issue with fentanyl. We're actually looking at whether dose changes are really important as we take it to scale. So we're very aware of that issue, and it's really important if we're going to dent this epidemic.
So we are looking at the issue. These two are going to follow up with you. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank everyone.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your interest and being a part of the civic engagement exercise. Let's thank the mayor and all of his staff for being here and our elected officials for this week. Well, I guess it's over.